Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. Hey, it's Shan here. This week, I speak with legendary Australian pioneer of skateboarding, Mr. Mick Mulhall. So, all you Australian skateboarders out there, you know who Mick Mulhall is. Maybe beyond that, you might know who Mick Mulhall is. But he was skateboarding in Australia, back in the late 70s. He had a professional career as a vert skater through most of the 80s and the 90s and beyond. He was the founder of skateboard coaching before skateboard coaching even became a thing. It really is a thing now, especially with the advent of the Olympics and other things like the X Games. Young skateboarders are having coaches, and good on them. I love seeing skateboarders achieve in every aspect, and I love seeing them make money too, because it is one of the hardest and raddest sports out there. We catch Mick in a very delicate time in his life. So we record in Mick's house in Five Dock, a suburb of Sydney, inner western suburb of Sydney that he's grown up in all his life. His family were the second owners of this house that has been there for well over 100 years, a beautiful old house. And, Mick had been in that house his whole life, and just recently Mick's mother passed away, and rest in peace, and my condolences to Mick and his family. And Mick was faced with the very arduous task of, cleaning out this house and the things that he had accumulated over the years. And he's quite the collector. His board collection was like, oh my God, mind-blowing. So this week I have special guest co-hosts and longtime friends of Mick as well, Darren Caney and Billy Harris. So they're from the northern suburbs of Sydney. They've been friends with Mick for probably 20, maybe 30 years. And it was very special to have them there. And I think a lot in this episode. I just really enjoyed sitting back and watch the three of them connecting and reminiscing on the very interesting and special life that Mick has had. We really just wanted to give him this space to talk. And again, I think there was just a real level of sensitivity there in regards to what Mick was being faced with in his personal life. Going through the remnants of a very long time in that beautiful house. His skateboard, going back to his skateboard collection though, he had a Lance Mountain board, one of only, I think he said 6 that were ever made. It was the first one to ever land in Australia. It was before Power Peralta were putting Bonite in their boards, and he had a signed Lance Mountain board. He also had signed original boards from Mark Gonzalez. And the list goes on. He just had this huge skateboard collection, which could really you could turn into a skateboard museum if you wanted to. So it's a great conversation. It's a long conversation, and I'm just so glad that we could give him the platform and the space to hear his story. I think it'll be very sentimental for a lot of Australian skateboarders that have been around for any given amount of time, because Mick has just been so significant. So I really hope you enjoy it. And again, a big thank you and a shout out to Billy Harris and Darren Caney for co-hosting and sitting in on this week's episode. So, and actually, as always, I do these podcasts for my kids. All right, enjoy. Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks.
Yeah, good to be here, man. Whoa. Dude, I'm pumped.
Go. 3, 2, 1. Do this. How many skate parks do you think you've designed in your lifetime?
Not many. Mostly portable stuff.
Okay.
5 Dock's the big one.
Did you design that single-handedly, 5 Dock?
Oh, yeah. I skated an indoor skate park in 1991 in Germany, in Mönchengladbach. I had this Y-shaped mini bowl.
Yeah.
And it set, there were spines off it and death box on one hip and cut off ledge like across the corner on another.
Yeah, right.
It's actually the first time I saw Rune Glifberg skate. Wow. He would have been 15 at the time, doing padless backside tail slides, probably 14 feet across a 24-foot wide vert ramp.
Wow.
At that age.
Is this his death box era or what?
Just before he got on Deathbox, I think,
Right.
or maybe he was, and not long after that, he got his first cover on Rad magazine in the UK. No way. But Five Dock was the inspiration for Five Dock came from skating that indoor mini ramp, which I was at for about a week.
Right. I don't think I've ever seen photo or clips or footage. Where can we see this?
I'll try and find it. I've researched it in the past. It's pretty hard to come by old German skate park or anything in Europe. Like, when we were talking about it after your interview with Shan about my trip to Europe with Wade Burkett and Chad Ford.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's that time.
That's a trip, yeah.
So what, 1991?
91, yeah.
Right.
From June of 91 until November of 91, I think it was. And then Chad came home to Australia, and Wade and I met up at the airport in Gatwick or something, and we flew back to San Francisco and stayed there for another 3 months.
Yeah. Wow. That's a diverse dynamic of individuals there, Wade, Chad and yourself.
Yeah. Well, as we've talked about, there was tension. Wade was only 16 and I was 22 at the time. So there was a bit of tension, me, like, I could go anywhere, do anything I want.
Yeah.
And, having a teenager who couldn't get into bars or anything like that was stressful. But Wade and I are brothers, mate. Like, that bond, that solidified a lifetime bond between the two of us. But, yeah, it was an amazing experience. So Five Dock's inspired by that one skate park that I went to, and I was on my own at that point. About a month, we'd lived in the UK in a place called Basingstoke for a month. Used to train it back and forth. It was like an hour and a half on the train into what's the main? I can't remember the main station in the middle of London, but there was an underground skate park.
King's Cross?
No, it wasn't King.
Oh, I know the one. Not Meanwhile.
It's not far
the
from...
one where Gonzolied that
that
from
is
quarter
Meanwhile,
to quarter.
Yeah. Maybe. It's got the same name as one of our train stations. I can't even remember what it's called. But there was a skate park called Ewer Street Skate Park.
Waterloo.
Waterloo.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. That's Waterloo.
And it's underground?
Yeah. Like all those train lines that lead into Waterloo Station, you've probably seen, they're built on these brick bridges, like that are above the roof line of houses.
Yeah.
With these archways over roads and stuff. And in certain places, actually literally probably 200 or 300 metres from Waterloo Station was this huge underground industrial complex. So under the railway lines, when you've got 10 railway lines that lead into the train station, there's this just huge, it's like an underground bunker.
Yeah.
And they're just these warehouses, like in a long row. I don't know how far underground they are, but they're like these archways, and each warehouse is probably the size of, say, about as big as Curl Park Street Course.
Okay. It's not that big.
Yeah, it's really tiny. And it's split down the middle. Each warehouse is split down the middle. So on one side of the warehouse, they had a street course. Tom Penny was local. Little kid at the time too. On the other side, they had maybe 10.5 foot vert ramp and a mini ramp. And God, who were the locals?
I think I know this. There's footage in an old Power video.
Yes.
video, yeah.
I was about to.
Harithi skating?
Curtis McCann.
Curtis McCann.
Curtis.
There you go.
Curtis was a local. There was Santa Cruz Europe team riders who were locals.
Wade was at that session that's in the video.
That's what I heard as well, where they're smacking the tail on the coping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those guys, like, all amazing skateboarders, all super cool to hang out with. So I pretty much spent every day. If Chad, Wade and I weren't going to check out some other archaic park somewhere, we were going to Ua Street.
Yeah, right.
Every day for, probably 75% of the time out of a month that we were in London. Then we flew, ferried across to Paris and went to Germany for the 91 Munster Monster Mastership.
91, I saw it on YouTube the other day.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's on my channel.
Yeah.
Shot by Finn.
Right, you with Finn? He met up with you at that competition?
Yeah, we met up with Finn and Boris and, what was his name? One of the Fairfield locals, Marty Holdsworth.
Oh, wow.
They were there as well, so met up with them. I got injured at a comp in Southsea the week before, so I didn't go in what would have been my first NSA contest. Then from there, from Munster, we went to Le Grand Bonnard, where the riot was, the famous big riot
Break that down, the riot. Tell us about it. What was the
I escaped pretty quickly. It was actually, it's funny because I hear stories about it from other pros. I think it was Craig Johnson ripped a wire out of the wall and it just peeled from the wall around the whole bar and started all this shit. But it was actually my 22nd birthday that night, and I announced it to a few people, and that was when it started to get rowdy. So when it got something caught on fire by the pool table, because we were all playing pool, and I was like, this is getting out of control, I'm out of here. So I kind of felt, did I start that by saying it's my birthday and everyone got rowdy all of a sudden? And
the
then all of a
Aussie's
sudden,
birthday. Let's get rowdy. This is an excuse.
The wire gets ripped out of the wall. I was like, shit, was that me? So I escaped with Wade and
Chad.
Oh, well, actually, was Wade with us? I can't remember because he was too young. I was with Chad. But we ended up finding where Finn had a hotel room. We had nowhere to stay. Like, we would have been on the street, me, Wade and Chad.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've been rambling for so long.
No, that's exactly what I want you to do. But when you're hanging with, like, street skaters in those places like San Fran and in various parts of Europe and London, like, were you street Mulhall as well as Bird Mulhall? Man,
that's the thing about my entire career. Everyone's, they've only ever seen of me what's in mags as a vert skater, except for a few bits where, there's Skating Life had some stuff of me skating Ainsley Drains, a street skating photographic expose with Biff and I think maybe
Biff
Adrian.
Murdoch.
Yeah.
These are names.
There's a photo of me doing a flat ground frontside boneless in Martin Place or something like that.
A flat.
That would have been like 87.
Street skating changed very quick.
It did totally.
Were you in the pit or the sculpture?
No.
The flat section.
Just flat section somewhere. Oh no. Actually, it was outside. I think it was outside. What is it, Myers?
Okay.
Or whatever.
Just on the sidewalk.
Yeah, just on the tiled sidewalk. Because there used to be that bank that there used to be banks everywhere in the city.
Because there was that sculpture with the flat bank, like on the middle.
Oh, the mirrored pyramid. Yeah, we used to skate that, and we'd skate everything. So I always loved street skating. Just not, I'm not great at it. Like I could do. Like there was a point where I could 87 where I could ollie a garbage bin, like a upturned steel garbage bin.
Yeah.
I could do kick flips, heel flips, board slides, like basics.
But you like to fly.
Yeah, like that childhood sensation, that sensation of dreams you have of flying, skating vert and doing airs, especially backside ollies. That's the sensation I'm looking for every single time I drop in.
Wow. Method airs.
Yeah.
Dude, I was thinking about your method airs. They're ingrained in my brain, you know. You had a pretty good method air on you.
Thanks, mate. They've changed over the years. You know, Cam Ward famously always, if you're not grabbing in front of your foot, like, you're lame. If you're not styling it like Christian Hosoi, it's just a lame method air. But
would you call people out?
Can you run us through back-to-back backside airs, 8 foot out on vert, Michael?
Getting higher each time.
It's all about the landing.
Not plugging.
Yeah, not plugging is the main one. Well, you know, I can relate this back to my very first 8 foot high backside air at Curl Park in 1988. And that was, as you guys have either know or heard, it was notoriously difficult to ride that ramp because it was an upside down elliptical transition. So it was tight at the bottom, mellow, and, you know, steep at the vert.
Take the whip.
Yeah, you could get seriously whipped there.
Wait a second, mellowed out towards the top?
Yeah, like
Like it was put on upside down.
Yeah, it was put on upside down, so it was a big radius from the vert down, and then it slowly got tighter and tighter and tighter until you got to the flat bottom.
Why the hell did they make an elliptical transition?
It was a trend at the time.
Yeah, right.
Like it was built in 1980, early 1987, and actually, council paid for the framework, the steel framework, to be built and erected, but it was us, the skaters, the locals, Curl Park locals at the time. It was me, I think Sinegalia, who founded Airwalk and was Airwalk Vic guy. I think Fox, Andrew Hulley, maybe John Gray and John Finlay. We put this. Council put the cross beams. Sorry,
John Fox.
Yeah,
like editor of Skating Life.
Yeah, editor of Skating Life, and we laid the top layer surface on it.
Right.
So
whose fault they didn't pick up? It was upside down.
Council, because they're the ones that concreted in the frames.
Because someone told me it was upside down. I'm like, well, wait a second. If it's just a curve, it wouldn't matter which way it goes up, would it? Like,
well,
because it's elliptical, it does.
But you could feel it.
Yeah, you could feel it. But luckily, it is better that they did flip it, because I've skated elliptical transition ramps that got tighter at the vert, and they are even more prone to pitching you to the bottom of the ramp because it's a sudden whip.
100%.
Which is where, and that's where we'll get to technique for airs, is being able to, you know, keep your head up, keep your eye on the coping, and you want to be at your lowest pump at the bottom of the transition, of course. We all know that. Fully extended at the coping and just scoop the nose. Like your front wheels should only lift 5 mil over the coping.
Scoop the nose or the tail?
Scoop the tail, sorry.
Okay. So you just
so you're
not
lifting the nose.
though. You just like little touch.
Like, you know, when you do your first ollie off a crack in the pavement.
Yeah,
You just do a little bounce ollie.
Like a wally.
Yeah, it's just the tiniest little bounce ollie off the coping, and, you know, keep your head up.
It's just a little bounce.
Yeah.
It's a vert ramp, dude.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's it.
But then that throws you 8 foot in the air.
Yeah.
Is that why, like, you know, I remember they used to describe vert skaters when they try to skate street, they'd call it vertosis. Like, they got vert legs. And
Yeah.
They can't ollie properly on street.
Yeah, they couldn't pop.
Did you suffer from vertosis?
No.
Not many people
I like
have
to
made
think
that transition.
Well, as I said 5 minutes
Yeah.
ago, you know, I could ollie like a 3.5 foot tall steel garbage bin in 1987 on that Chris Miller board that's behind me.
Right.
The GNS one.
That's insane.
So, and I've got a photo of it somewhere. So, I love progression in skateboarding, and regardless of what I did, I'm also a perfectionist, so I just wanted to do the best I could at it, whether it was street, vert, slalom, downhill, luge, freestyle. I've tried it all, and if I found ways to make something look semi-decent, I enjoyed it. And that's what I love about street skating. You know, I've done tray flips and all that stuff. even today, I think my switch, well, I couldn't do one right now, but my switch kickflips were on like as high as my normal kickflips.
Right. Isn't that funny how some things switch work as good or better than regular?
Yeah,
It's bizarre.
it's just it's quite a simple thing to learn the skate switch if you're able to comprehend it. If I was ambidextrous artist when I was a child, you know, I would come home from primary school and my teachers would say to my mum, "Where does he get this ability to draw and paint and sculpt with both hands?" And mum's like, "Well, I'm not an artist, I wouldn't have a clue." And I applied that to skateboarding once I took that up. When the switch became a thing, I was like, okay, all I need to do is perfectly match body position. This is, as a skateboard coach for since 1986, stance is, you guys know, as street skaters, stance is the most important thing in skateboarding. Doesn't matter, street, vert, whatever. If you don't apply a stance that's correct for you, your height, body weight, shoe size, board size, whatever, things just won't work. Yeah. But once you work out how to move your feet, where to turn your head, how to move your arms, all that minutiae of a trick. Once, I think about tricks, every trick I've ever learned, think about so much, dream about it. Just analyse it as much as possible before I go out and try it.
Would you say you're obsessed with skateboarding?
Yeah, well, look around me.
Like it's so obvious that, I mean, your history of skateboarding and your lifetime of doing it is so rich. There's no doubt about it. And we're sitting in this amazing room with literally the best skateboard collection I've ever seen.
Thanks, mate.
And I really...
Pretty rough shape. Yeah, I'd actually love to have a museum, but yeah.
Well, that could be on the cards. But I really do want to go back to your early days and your childhood. So where did you grow up? Where were you born?
Right here in Five Dock.
And
actually, Balmain Hospital. My grandmother on my mum's side and my mum and myself were all born in Balmain Hospital. My grandmother was in the slums of Balmain, when it was a slum, when all the dock workers back in the...
Post-war?
Yeah, 1910, 20, 30s.
Okay.
Mum was born in 1938, so... Okay. Before the Second World War anyway. So 1910s to 30s would be my grandmother's year of growing up in Balmain. Then my parents bought their first house in 1962 here in Five Dock, on the other side of Five Dock. And then only a few months before I was born, they bought the house that we're sitting in right now. For a quite small sum of money, which is great. So, I've been here all my life, apart from, travel around the world for skateboarding, and lived in China for a year and Malaysia for a few months with Dave Bodner.
That's home.
And now you have to move out?
Yeah, well, as you know, Mum passed away. I was her carer for the last 10, 15 years.
Sorry to hear that, Mick.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Sorry for your loss, mate.
Thanks, Billy.
Likewise.
Same, Shan.
How you coping?
Hey?
How you coping with it? All right?
Emotionally pretty okay.
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately, I've lost quite a few close friends and family over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm conditioned to it now. The stressful part is just the amount of, Mum and I were terrible hoarders of everything we'd ever owned or bought, or every scrap of paper that we wrote something on.
Yeah.
So sorting through it all, what's valuable, what's just...
I can take a few of these boards off your hands,
Yeah.
Nick. No
I'll
worries.
just grab that Lance Mountain.
I'm a bit in debt to bills at the moment, so if you guys want to buy anything on your way out, you're welcome to it.
I can't afford what they're worth, that's for sure.
Can I ask though, Mick, why do you feel that need to hold on to things from the past? Is it more for souvenir value?
Yeah, I've asked myself that a lot over the decades. I feel I don't know if my siblings would argue the point, but I felt like I had a very sort of, not a neglected childhood. Well, on my father's side, yes, but I didn't get much. My parents divorced when I was about 6.5, 7. So they, and my mum raising a family of 4 kids in the 70s.
By herself?
Yeah, by herself. No, there was no shared care.
Okay.
Like I saw my dad for half an hour on my birthday and half an hour at Christmas once a year, and that was twice a year, and that was it. There was financial support in regards to school tuition, whatever the minuscule amount was for they had to pay back then. But
can I ask why? Did he not?
Did
he not want to be involved in your life?
Oh, he had an affair. Like my dad used to run the local 5 RSL club, and and he was a workaholic. So I very rarely saw him in life. Like weekends on a Sunday for a few hours. I blame my insomnia that I've had since I was 6 on the fact that once or twice a week my mum would allow me to stay up till 11, 12 o'clock when Dad would come home from work just to see him. But yeah, he was gone by the time I was 7. So single parent household, things like just toys. Maybe I'd get a Lego toy once a year for my birthday or Christmas, or barely any toys. Everything hand me down, virtually. So later, once I started making money off skateboarding or through working in skate shops, everything that I bought for myself, I placed more value on. So I want this because no one would give it to me as a kid. Now I can buy it myself. So I'm buying it, it's mine.
Like a lack.
Like Lego Technics models that are up there, and, it's just stupid stuff.
Is it sort of safe to say that we're kind of like talking to quite an emotional time in your life?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And quite challenging mentally, having to decide what to let go of?
Yeah, I've got everything actually you see behind me right now there's probably a third of what I have of my skateboard collection, or memorabilia, includes clothing, and there's still boxes of wheels and trucks and pads and brand new helmets and shoes and all sorts of stuff. But boards that you see behind me, probably I'd say I need to let go of 90% or more of everything I have.
Do you think you're going to be able to do it?
No.
Okay.
I've been... I haven't put a really concerted effort in it. I'm probably going to... I've announced that I will, sometime within the next couple of months, probably just have a garage sale.
Okay.
Not really, like, here, buy stuff from me for $5. It's going to be like, hey, if you want to... if you're going to come over, come here with $5,000 in your pocket.
$5,000.
Because I've got shit that...
You just said
there's one of in the world.
Because you said $5, and I was like, well, I'll take that Lance Mountain for $5.
You can have the Lance.
Would you let go of a board like the Lance, the first ever Powerwall Peralta Lance Mountain board in Australia? You have it. Would you ever let go of something?
I thought about selling it a few years ago for a couple of grand.
A couple.
But then,
more than that.
Yeah, recently I've shown people photos of it and they go, oh, it's riddled with holes and it's used and it's, and I've gone, hey, it's one of 6 ever produced wood stain Lance Mountain Future Primitive 1985 models ever made. And there's only one NOS one left in the world. So
you're going to get offers.
I don't think it's one. It has a lot of emotional attachment, that deck.
Okay.
Because I bought it off Matt Davis. It's a second board I bought when I got back into skating and properly in late 1984, and I bought that Lance in sort of around April or something in 85 off Matt Davis at Chatswood Cycles, and he said to me, "This is the first one in Australia," and that's the reason I bought it. Was a couple of weeks before. Well, actually a few months before, I went and I wanted to buy a Sims Christian Hosoi, the Rising Sun board. And I got to Chatswood Cycles and it was a Sims Kamikaze by that time. Christian had left and started his own company, so I was bumming. But I've still got that deck. It's behind me somewhere. It doesn't have the original graphic anymore, unfortunately. I reshaped it into a fishtail and rode it on street in 1985.
Is that the Zoe?
Yeah.
I saw the hammerhead.
Well, it's a kamikaze. Yeah, the hammerhead. Oh, yeah, the hammerhead. I rode that. That's the first time I ever had a hammerhead, and I rode that on street. Didn't even ride it on vert.
So how are you going to put a sentimental value into a monetary value?
I know. Well, that's it.
It's
That
worth a lot more to you than it is to...
Yeah. You know, I rode that Lance. I rode to ride the very first 11-foot vert ramp ever built in Australia, backyard vert ramp built in Australia, Andrew Hulley built.
Which is Quakers Hill?
This is Rydalmere in 1985. He'd previously had like an 8-foot vert ramp that was maybe 12 foot wide, something like that. And then he built 24 foot wide, 10 foot transition radius, 1 foot of vert, 16 foot of flat.
That's the token.
And that's what Monavale is modelled from.
Yeah. The chin ramp as well is the same dimensions, right?
No, the chin ramp was another elliptical vert ramp. But yeah, so riding that vert ramp at the time, so 1985. This was before Bones Brigade video show had come out. So you could count, you couldn't count on two hands how many skateboarders there were in Sydney, but everyone knew everyone else. This was before the big boom of 1986.
Just say that again for us, Mick, because that's important.
The big what? The fact
there was everybody, all the skateboarders.
We all knew each other. Everyone. Like there was maybe 30 or 40 skateboarders in all of Sydney.
I remember that when I started skateboarding as well.
Yeah.
And that was the late 80s.
Yeah, 87 or 88 you started?
88-ish, yeah.
So yeah, we all knew each other and it was a pretty... especially amongst the vert skaters. There was the Curl Park skaters, North Ryde Skate Park. Well, we all skated the same parks together. North Ryde Skate Park, Curl Park quarter pipe, and then the eventual vert ramp. Well, not really, 2 quarter pipes. Artarmon quarter pipe and 5 dock. That was it. That was all there was. Yeah. And then when, Hulley built this exclusive vert ramp, who would not to get in there was a nightmare.
What do you mean?
I got abused the first. Well,
what do you mean?
He's a punk, mate. Hardcore punk, skate punk. If you think you know a modern skate punk or any of them from the late 80s, you meet Andrew Hulley, especially back then. He was gnarly.
Do you think skating's gone too soft in that respect?
It's evolved.
Ah, nice answer.
It's
good answer.
Skateboarding has evolved. I'm part of a Facebook group, Skaters Over 50, and I see all sorts of weird arguments on there, or disagreements, or opinions, whatever. And I'm like, well, skateboarding is an ever evolving thing. We're always progressing.
How did you negotiate that, Mick? Because you're not a punker,
you're not an
aggressive person.
No, well, not until I start bailing all the time. That's when I'll start throwing my board and yelling. That's skateboarding is my only aggressive release. But yeah, so I went to Chats of Cycles, saw Matt Davis for the first time since 1981 when I first met him in Canberra at Woden Skate Park when I was 11. Bought the Sims Kamikaze, skated 5 dock for a few months, and then I think during that time, when I saw Matt, he said, "Hey, there's this vert ramp out at Rydalmere that you should come and check out. Here's the address. When you get a chance, come and check it out." So I went out there and went down the long driveway towards the backyard, and there was a garage with an awning, and went under that, and there was a fence with a gate. Stood at the gate, and Hulley I don't know how long I'd been there, but Hulley turned around, looked at me and came and go, "Who the fuck are you?" And I was 15 at the time.
So good.
And Hulley would have been, he must have been 18, 19, maybe early 20s. I can't remember. I'd have to I spoke to him. He rang me drunk in the middle of the night, like 1 a.m. a few weeks ago.
But that's a full-grown adult to a
15-year-old. To a 15-year-old, and I was like,
that's terrifying.
And full he's had a mohawk his entire life. So mohawk,
So good.
he's Scottish.
Oh, right.
So Scottish heritage and
Tough.
like
Braveheart.
nutter. Yeah. Like Finn and just gnarly. And I'm so intimidating. I'm like, Matt invited me over, and he turns around, Mavis, get over here. He tore Mavis to shreds for a bit, and Mavis was like, man, it's cool. Like the kid rips. Wait until you see him skate.
And
Harley was like, yeah, all right. Let
This
me
is
in.
your time, Mick.
Yeah, it's like, here's your sort of like an audition, hey?
Yeah, it's your time.
And was it like once you gained that respect through your skateboarding, it was all sweet?
Oh, as soon as I I had my rector knee pads my first ever rector knee and elbow pads that I'd had since I was 11.
You've still got them somewhere here too, haven't
I've
you?
still got the elbow pads.
Yeah, I can smell
I
them.
bet.
No, they're in the other room. Gee, they must be bad if you can smell them in the other room. So yeah, skated the ramp for a couple of minutes, and Mavis, actually Hully was like, geez, Matt Magers, who's this another kid my age that lived 3 doors up, is like, he's going to be pissed that you're better than him.
Oh, really? So it wasn't like
Yeah.
respect, it was like jealousy.
Oh, well, he thought this kid would be jealous of me, but Hully was like, you're good. You've proved that you can skate. Like I did frontside airs over the channel, grinds, rock and roll.
You showed him the backside air, didn't you, Mick?
I was only doing like half a foot high backside airs on that ramp. That's the first time I'd skated an actual proper. Well, it was the first vert ramp in Australia.
Yeah, right.
That was above the size of Curl Park quarter pipe.
So you were just really working it out.
Yeah.
This is the
And I
birth
hadn't.
of vert ramps.
I'd been surfing for 2 years. I'd been surfing more than skating for the previous 2 years.
Surfer dog.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is that acceptance that you gained then from that guy that owned the ramp. And,
Yeah.
I mean, how much did that validate you and motivate you to want to skate more?
I wanted to.
Was it? I guess the question is, was it important to you to be accepted by crew? Or did you not give a shit? You were just like,
no, I didn't give a shit. I just wanted access to the vert ramp.
And you just
I went there
because you just want to skate and progress.
I just want to skate and learn everything that I see in magazines.
right. So you didn't give a shit about acceptance.
No.
Because a
Back
lot of
then-
skaters do seek that.
Yeah. I do. I'm a people pleaser. I like to help people and make them happy. And if I have to embarrass myself to get a laugh out of someone, I'll do that.
But you're headstrong about your own opinions too, Mick.
Oh, absolutely, and
Proudly
people
headstrong.
hate me for that, but I don't back down from an argument. And
That's noble.
it comes
appreciate
from
that.
growing up here. I mean, Five Dock was a working class suburb in the 70s, and even the skate park in the sort of when it was built, summer of 79, 80 until 83, the locals were rough. You had to prove yourself. You had to have style. If you showed a sign of weakness, you were going to get bullied or beaten up, and you had to stand up for yourself.
Can we just ascertain the exact year you started skateboarding?
I'm inclined to say I was around late 78. The first time I have vague memories of the first time I ever saw a skateboard was, I think my dad took us to see Big Wednesday at the drive-ins, and there's a scene in there with a bit of skateboarding. It was I think one of the girls says radical, so it was the first time I heard the word radical, and it was the first time I'd seen a skateboard, and I was 7 or 8, and my friend Jack Mangraviti, who I went to primary school with, he used to live on the opposite corner to where the skate park is now.
Right.
And one day after school, just hanging out in his garage, we found a plastic skateboard. Oh, actually, no, not a plastic one. I had the plastic one eventually. He had a fiberglass, like Surfer Sam type board that was his older brother's. And we just learned to skate around in circles in his garage, like sort of late 78, early 79.
Wow, dude.
And then he and I used to get in trouble with our parents because I found the yellow plastic board that my eldest brother had here in my garage. And we used to skate across the road from the RSL club up at Five Dock Shops down this sort of 10-degree hill that was maybe 50 feet long. And we just butt-board down it in the middle. You know, we'd come home at 11 at night and our parents would be like, where the hell have you been? I'm skateboarding.
What's the longest period of time you think you've had off your board?
Oh, too long now. The last 10 years I've been riddled with injuries.
Okay.
I've had, what was it? I've had a knee surgery on my right knee for cartilage issues. I've got a torn meniscus now that needs surgery in the left knee. 2001 or 2000, just before the Olympics, I had my first shoulder reconstruction. That was a rotator cuff. 2005 or 2006, tore the right one at Bondi, had another surgery for that. Had another full 2 bolts, a surgery called the Lakai procedure. It's a French procedure.
Shoulder.
In my right shoulder, so that's pretty gnarly. There's 2 titanium bolts in there now.
From slamming on vert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All vert slams.
Interesting.
That right shoulder, I'd probably dislocated 150 times.
Broken jaw?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hear the 540 story, do you?
Go on.
Let's go.
Break your jaw skateboarding?
Yeah, we're jumping through the timeline. So
It's pretty rare.
No, but that's an injury. That's an injury.
That's a rare one to break. A jaw skateboard, unless you're fighting drunk.
I only brought that up because that's in your injury list.
Yeah, not when it's a 540 and 5 dock bowl. Wow. The old bowl.
Has anyone ever done that?
No.
No chance.
So did you land it in the end? Or
no.
Okay, what happened?
I got whipped. There's actually...
What year is this?
This is 1986, early 86.
Who's
roughly.
doing 540s in 1986?
No one. Cameron Ward on a BMX bike halfway up the bowl.
Okay. Who did the first 540 in Australia?
Danny Van.
Not
that's what I
Vichan
know.
Wicks?
No.
Okay.
And what year was that?
Danny Van did his first one, I'd like to say, 87.
Was it inverted?
Yeah, off axis. It was like
McTwist.
it was
Like
like
it was a McTwist.
it was a McTwist. It wasn't a flat spin. It was definitely rotated to about 50 degrees off axis.
Were you there at that session?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
It might have been on his ramp in Harris Park, actually, which would have been 86.
Right.
I think that's the first place he tried them.
Wow.
Bonkers.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
And you were never
Danny-
going to try him again after the slam at 5 dock, even on.
Oh no, I did.
You did try.
Yeah, I was stupid.
You ever done one?
No,
No.
I landed one at Curl Park, knee sliding across the flat with my feet still on the board.
There's obviously a
And-
mental battle going on.
Yeah, and a skate park battle as well. Yeah, well, that's it. After the 5 dock incident, Cam, we were all at 5 dock one afternoon, and Cam, I come back. I think I was working at I was working at Skateboard World at the time. I'd come home from work on probably a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. All the locals are there, like Shane Deering, who you might know. He was an old Curl Park
Yes.
local. Whole bunch of all the locals there, maybe 50 people. Cam's there, and Cam Ward at that time was predominantly a BMX freestyler. He was pro for Vans. He
was the editor of Australian Skateboarding, was that right?
Maybe.
Remember that magazine?
Yeah. It's Australian skateboarding started out in Newcastle. I think Cam worked for him for a little. Like they moved to.
Was he a Hasoi disciple?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We call him Too Rad. Cam. Yeah. Also wardrobe. Sorry, Cam, mate. You know I love your brother.
Wardrobe. Because of his style.
He was the most. He
had a considerable wardrobe.
He was the most fashionable Curl Park local there ever was.
Interesting.
But yeah, so he was a
Best dude ever.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome. But he started out as a pro BMXer like Flatland, and he rode for Vans, and they had a demo team with their own quarter pipe with Reece Jordan and Grant Chief Gettins. And they used to travel. That's how we first met. That's how I first met Cam. Those guys did a demo at Lakai Marketplace.
Right.
On the quarter pipe, and all the 5 Dock locals, we went and heckled the shit out of them, made fun of them. Like Reese rode a unicycle, and we just drilled the shit out of these guys. And so we ended up like afterwards. They kind of had the shits, and Reese was a bit bummed at us, and had words, and Cam was like, and we were like, come to our skate park,
Yeah.
come check out 5 Dock, and Cam came and checked it out, and that was it. He was hooked. Like he came all the time after that.
Right.
To ride his BMX.
To ride his BMX. And he was one of the best riders there. And it was, we'll finally get to this 540 story. And that's the other thing. I'm notoriously known for telling long-ass stories.
Dude, you're in the right place for that then.
Oh, that's good. Maybe I'll catch up to Sid Tapier's 3-hour runtime.
Never.
He's a champ. I love that guy.
Man, me too.
He's... I was just thinking about it.
Why do you love him?
He's just so mellow, and I have a deep appreciation for artistic talent.
It's amazing,
and he is incredible, and he's just so humble, and I hate to he's a nice dude, man. He's always pleasant to hang out with, always cool to talk to, and I think the one reason, I know we're chopping back and forth between stories here,
That's
but
good.
one reason I get along so, when people show me, when young skaters show me as much respect as I want to show them, that's when we get along well with each other.
Yeah.
Like, when I met Dags, like, you were what, 16?
15, 16.
So 1992 or 93?
I'd say it would have been the start of 92 because I went to America in the middle of 92, so it was before that.
Yeah, it was just before.
Yeah.
I'd been doing demos at the Easter show with some of Dags' friends, and we met at his house. But anyway,
rollerbladers.
Yeah.
Of all people.
We're chopping. Where were we?
No, this is good.
540s.
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward. That's it. So Cam's trying, bring him back to 5 Dock, and he's.
It's a big session.
Yeah, big session, and he starts. There's at the end of 5 Dock Bowl where the wide channel is. There's a section. Everyone knows how kinked 5 Dock is, and it's uneven, lumpy. There's a section where it's like a bit of transition, then a flat bank, then another bit of transition, then vert. And Cam so the bowl's probably maybe 10 foot deep. Cam's trying 540s halfway up, just on the flat bank section, and he starts making them. I'm like, cool, man, that's good on you, dude. We were all cheering for him. It's rad. And he's like, come on, Mick, you've tried 540s, and I tried them at the Melbourne. My first ever trip out of New South Wales was to Moomba Festival with Adrian Jones. Okay. Skateboard World sent the two of us for a competition. I think it was 1986, and there are photos of Johnny McGrath and Matt Davis and a few others skating that comp. But I saw Johnny McGrath try 540s there for the first time. That's the first time I'd seen it live outside of the Bones Brigade.
Johnny McGrath.
Yeah.
I was going to
He
say...
used to skate for Veriflex, didn't he?
No. He... excuse me. I can't remember who he skated for back then. Maybe Edwards? Or I don't know. I can't
He's a
remember.
primate pad
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, he's the guy
That's
that
what he's-
invented excuse me. He's the guy that made Promate pads. But he was trying 540s, and I was like, wow, I want to do that. And I tried it. So I was, 15, 16 at the time.
Because that trick was fresh out of the box.
Yeah,
It was
fresh
really
out of the
new.
box.
And so spectacular.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But he wasn't making them. He was landing and just sliding out. He was coming close. And I tried it straight away, but I did it like I had no idea what I was
backside
doing.
grab or mute grab?
Mute grab.
'Cause you can
Which is
tuck
now
into a ball.
weddle grab, yeah.
Yeah. You can tuck into a ball better. Grab
Yeah,
it and
you
mute,
tuck it. Yeah, you tuck into a ball. But when I popped, I span like a spinning top. I didn't even flat spin sideways. I sort of did it like a hippie twist.
Oh, wow.
Helicopter.
Yeah, helicoptered it, and it was just weird. Like even my 720s, when I was trying those for a while, they were helicopter.
Yeah.
I was like, you know,
Just
I'm never
spin
going
and win. Just try and
yeah,
make
spin
it.
and win, try and make it.
Like a hawk style hook.
Yeah.
That's hawk technique, huh?
Sorry, excuse me.
That's all right.
But they were terrible. So I tried it twice at this Melbourne comp, and just did this helicopter spin. I was like, yeah. Came back and talked to Cam and said, yeah, I tried this new trick. So he's egging me on, like, have a go at it. And there's one section next to the narrow channel or roll in at 5 dock, the capsule end, where it's close to being vert.
I always thought it was in the bold corner. It was in the corner.
Yeah, it's in that bowl end, like
Yeah.
the very end where everyone used to roll into the big rolling, the wide rolling, carve up and do airs on that face wall.
Was it ever skatable? It's so gnarly.
Oh yeah,
It was.
It's like any
was
skate
smoother.
park, when it's brand new, it's smooth as
Right.
a baby's bum. So it was lumpy and kinked, but it was smooth, so you could go fast.
Sure.
I was always envious of the bikers because those guys could do 8-foot airs in there, and I could, at my peak in 1986, before any public vert ramp in Australia, I'd get maybe 3-4 feet high airs in there.
Really?
So when did you start finding that progression in your air height? What ramp really launched you to the new heights?
Curl Park.
Curl Park, not Fairfield?
No. Well,
Okay.
87 Curl Park was before.
before
Fairfield didn't get the vert ramp till
90.
88.
Oh, it was 88 Fairfield. Okay.
Yeah, later. I think sometime around 88, maybe late
right.
88.
Yeah.
Curl Park vert ramp was sort of January 87.
Okay.
Good timeline recollection.
Dude.
Yeah, that comes from.
When was
I'm not a
Mona?
big drinker.
What about Mona then?
Mona's late 88 or early 88. Not long after Curl Park. Wow. And Tim Dorr from Cockroach paid for the transitions for Mona Vale.
Oh,
originally.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Nah.
There we go.
Nah. That was the best vert ramp going at the time, though, Mona.
Yeah, that was modelled off Hully's backyard vert ramp.
Right.
Ah.
I need closure on the McTwist, though.
Yeah, so the 5, I know, like I said, we're chopping, man, but,
I've been waiting years, decades to hear this story.
well, yeah, so I started trying it,
Billy.
and
How
I
are you
was
getting
just,
speed? Rolling straight into it?
So good.
I used to push my guts out along the sort of snaky path towards the wide channel.
Yeah.
So you do a huge, long double pump frontside carve around that far end wall. Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know what I mean by double pump is when you carve fast enough along a big banked curved wall, like you'll pump up the transition to a full standing position on the vert.
Yeah.
And travel, like, I've measured it out and like people said I'd travel at least 40 feet along the vert through that round wall, along the flat wall, and then pump down out of it. So you pump once to go in and then you pump again to come out. And the amount of speed you generate for 5 dock, being the shit bowl it is, it'd get you as high as possible. So I'd do that, do the double pump carve, cut my line short and carve up about 3 or 4 feet up the transition, really long carve, like 30, 40 foot long carve, just to push me straight up the face wall of the
Just
capsule.
hook it.
Wow. Yeah, hooking as fast as I could. And then, do like back then, so 86, I'd learnt sort of mute airs, wettle grab, judo airs, backside airs, back bonelesses, invert varials, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so just do that and try 540s. Tried it 12 times. 13th attempt. So good, unlucky 13.
Bummer.
Did you know this, Billy, that it was the
Didn't know
13?
nothing about the 13.
Launched, but when I took off, my body reacted like I was just doing a straight fly out the top of the bowl.
Projected out.
Yeah, because that's how I learned, like judo airs and Christ airs and
By landing on the platform.
yeah, just doing
right.
straight flyouts out of the top of the bowl and landing on the platy. So for some reason, my body went, "Oh, are you pulling it? Do you need to intentionally plug, or you land on the platform like you want usually do. And my body just went, oh, you're going on the platform. So I took off. I'm hoping no one's ever really explained what they look like to me. Everyone said, oh, yeah, they look great, whether it was a flat spin or not. But I just remember tucking in and coming around straight to my hips on the lip of the bowl. Wow. So half my body was over the platform.
Yeah, right.
And then so your head was in the transition.
Yeah. My hips hit. I haven't checked recently. Maybe they're still there. Scars on both pelvic tops of my pelvis.
From hitting the
From
coping.
hitting the lip. It's not even coping.
Yeah.
It's probably a 6-inch radius rounded edge. Hit the lip with my hips, and my torso and shoulders and face just wrapped around the lip, and my chin bounced off the coping. I mean, off the vert.
Arms out or arms back? Behind you?
Must have been beside me.
Yeah.
But
So you got like folded in half over the edge.
just whipped.
And then your chin hit like the transition.
The
the vert part of the transition.
And one of my front teeth, one of my front teeth hit the transition, and my chin front flipped to my knees on the flat bottom.
No.
Sitting there on my knees, and I just looking down, and I see a couple of drops of blood, and I'm like, oh, that kind of hurts. Couldn't move my jaw, and put my hand to my face, and then pulled my hand away, and my tooth and a big splash of blood just dropped into my hand. I was like, oh, that's not good. And then
so in shock, full shock.
Yeah, a little bit of shock. Excuse me. Didn't get knocked out or anything. And just looked up and said, somebody take me to the hospital. And
do you remember that? Can you remember that right now? That looking up?
Yeah, it was Shane Deering.
Look of shock, look of horror.
Yeah,
just laughing.
Just like, I don't know. I was just like, oh yeah, I've hurt myself. Like shit happens.
Disfigured. Was it disfigured? Like your face looked different? No, okay, just swollen.
Just big split in my chin.
Yeah, right.
With blood gushing out and just a broken tooth, and that was it. And they wired my jaw shut for 6 weeks, and I gained weight drinking chocolate quick with 2 eggs in it every day.
Wow, raw eggs.
Yeah.
That was the treatment at the time.
It was the only way to keep protein and weight.
Yep, you'll be right. Just do that.
Yeah.
Because they said, I was lucky you broke your tooth, because when we wired your jaw shut, we would have had to remove one so you could stick a straw in.
Yeah, right.
And here's a pair of pliers, so if you feel like you need to vomit, you got to quickly clip them out so you don't choke to death.
He almost choked to death. He broke his jaw as well.
Yeah, it's
wired shut. And he started vomiting, because of medication. This was in the initial phase. Almost died.
No.
From like almost drowned on his. Yeah, terrible situation.
Yeah, that was my biggest fear during that whole time, because it was a heavy warning to get that.
Listen, I want to get us back on track a little bit with some chronology. Like you're just this wealth of information and knowledge. I did want to delve more into your teen years and life sort of outside of skateboarding, but I'll go back to that. Before I do that, I want to ask you, as a vert skater, that period in the early 90s when skateboarding died, but especially vert died, and it was like, around early 90s, 92, when street skating, that raw street skating started to boom, blind video days came out, and all of a sudden vert's dead. How did you cope with that period of skateboarding?
Surprisingly, here in Australia, I didn't feel it so much, because
you had your crew.
The early 90s was probably one of my busiest periods for doing vert demos.
Interesting.
We still had the Skateboard World ramp, portable vert ramp, that was built in 1986, that Manly Blades had bought in 1993. So when I came back from America with Wade in January of 92, literally the day I got home, John Fox rang me and says, hey, I heard you just got home. What are you up to? I got this gig on. It's called The Big Day Out.
Yes.
And that was literally 2 weeks after I'd come home from the States.
Dude, was that night? Were you at the first one, 1992, when Nirvana played?
Yeah.
Did you skate in that demo where Nirvana played?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I've got photos of it on my Facebook page.
Have
that
you?
David Pang took, yeah.
Wait, there was a demo when Nirvana were actually playing.
Well, there was a demo
I think
at
so.
the big day out. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was when.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if it was
Yeah.
the same moment.
I can't even remember where, like,
But that was,
I can't even remember where the placements of the stages were. They were all pretty tight knit.
They played the
But
Horde.
there was there was skateboarding going
Yeah.
on at big day
Yeah,
out, and
yeah.
Nirvana were
just outside
headlining.
the Horden, yeah. Yeah, so I skated that demo, and then, so that was January 92, and then
Australia.
my old sponsor, Skateboard World, Peter Lynch, the owner, rang me and said, "Hey, you know, I've still got the ramp. I've been booked to do 2 weeks of shows at the Royal Easter Show.
Right.
Do you want to skate these demos?" I was like, "Yeah, sure."
with Blake and Callum. And
Yeah. Oh, there's a funny story behind meeting those guys. Yeah.
Blake Reed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Was he skateboarding at that time?
No, hell no.
Because he. Oh, I'll say it.
No,
I'm,
big
I'm
time
sorry,
rollerbladers,
Blake. I'm
like
sorry, but
Aerial
it's like,
Assault Squad, mate.
He,
Yeah.
he hates,
Remember? Don't ya?
but he hates the rollerblade stuff being broke up. And I'm sorry, Blake. We know you're a skateboarder now, but
Is he?
yeah, he skates good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the funny thing, man. Blake.
Whatever he's a rollerblader, skateboarder, whatever. He's a human and I love him.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's the raddest dude.
Oh,
ever.
dude.
I love that
One of
guy.
the biggest
Well, that's it. That's why we're still friends, you know. And, like, man, Blake, like that crew. That's what. This is another thing I used to get shit for.
So you
because
weren't
of
hating on
people
Sorry, Mick. You weren't hating on rollerbladers.
No,
Not those two.
no. I choose my friends for who they are, not what they ride.
Yes, sir.
It's a beautiful sentiment, isn't it?
Yeah. Say that again. That's going to be the quote.
No, it'll make me cry, man.
Let's all cry together, man. I feel like crying too.
No, well, that's
the
what I was
same.
about
They're
to
just
say.
good
I
humans,
used to
I
cop
understand.
heaps of shit for hanging out with BMXers and rollerbladers. And I'd say to every single one of them, choose my friends for who they are, not what they ride.
Dude.
And those guys, like Blake Reed, Cal Mulvey, Johnny Pollard, Reese Jordan, Grant Gettins, they were my best mates. Like, we used to go snowboarding together, all of us. We used to go to raves together.
Yeah.
We'd skate and ride demos. We did demos together. We did those Royal Easter Show demos. That's where I was about to say first met the Blader guys, but rekindled my friendship with Reese and Grant Gettins. And then we'd skate we'd ride Bondi, Mona Vale, Curl Park, like everywhere. We'd do everything. Wakeboarding.
They were also really talented humans. I mean, like that Cullum guy, I remember, I think he was a rad actor as well, Australian actor. He was
Yeah.
they had all
big-time
these
actor.
talents. Yeah, and then, I mean, Blake went on to be like an amazing businessman and entrepreneur. I don't like, which he still is, I'd say, but also an epic skateboarder as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Cal,
They were just talented humans.
once I managed to turn those guys to the dark side of skateboarding.
You got them into skateboarding, you reckon?
They were
yeah.
skateboarders trapped in rollerbladers' bodies the whole time.
It
Though.
was big, because I used to hassle them. We do demos for either Skateboard World or Manly Blades.
Yeah.
You know, we do like. Eventually, I ended up getting sponsored by Manly Blades when he started Manly Skateboards. Right. He's like, and even before then, we did 92 Easter Show under Skateboard World. 93 Easter Show was under Manly Blades. Bill from Manly Blades had bought the vert ramp off Skateboard World.
Yeah.
So I was still doing demos with the same group of rollerbladers and bike riders, dating Johnny Pollard's older sister, hanging out with those guys, and what?
Well, yeah, they were just exceptional humans.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
in their own right.
Yeah.
So like it makes sense that you wanted to be friends with them anyway.
Oh yeah, they were just
because they were just
fun.
good, they
and-
were good energy.
They were fun and funny.
But there's probably an irony
kooky.
there. As rollerbladers in that period, they were probably turning more of an income than any skateboarder.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, like when it was impossible to make an income, those
Yeah.
guys were.
Those guys got sent to the States to do demos with Tony Hawk. And I was like, I'm not getting asked to go to the States to do demos with Tony Hawk, but you guys are. And even in recent, Tony's talked about it on his podcast. Like, yeah, I did these demos with rollerbladers because that they were the only ones doing anything and offering me any work back in the
On
early
vert,
90s. Yeah, on
especially,
vert.
'cause-
Can I share a story about Blake Reed? I've never shared it on here.
Yeah, please.
'cause
I love that guy.
I mean, really, the podcast is documenting my sort of my life story indirectly. But I went on a surf trip with Blake in the late 90s, early 2000s, down to Mexico. We bought a car in Colorado and we drove it from Colorado all the way into Mexico and just had this epic, mystical experience of just being so free. And I'll never forget, Blake said to me on that trip, he said, I don't know what I want to do with my life, like I'm lost. And he goes, I think I might go back to Australia and open up a Mexican restaurant. And you know what that Mexican restaurant chain is now?
Yeah,
It's
Beach Burrito.
And it turned into this really successful franchise.
Yeah. I'm so awestruck and proud of Blake for that.
Yeah. But
and plus, there's the fact that he gives me free food whenever I'm in there.
Are you on the team? What is it?
No, I'm
Burritos,
I'm
like-
not on the official team, but I know Blake, and we both know his little brother. And if either of those two are in the restaurant when we go, it's like, hey man.
But they also they nurtured skate culture in Sydney area,
especially
in that era.
especially the Bondi
Bowling
when
Island.
his first restaurant, the Bondi location. Had pros signing the walls after Bolorama, and
Like it was
he had boards on
place to go.
boards on display. Yeah, it was.
Dude,
it was
they had
awesome.
a bowl in the one in
Melbourne. I went to it. Did you ever
Melbourne one.
skate it?
I didn't skate it. No.
Yeah, and you know what's so rad about Blake? He got Team Payne. He flew him out from
Yeah,
the States
Oh,
to build
they
it.
built that bowl.
Yeah, he flew
See, Blake has
He's core,
hookups, man.
But he's that core. He's like, no, we're doing it right. Like, I'm going to get Team Payne, and I want to make it so it's a proper pool, and that if you can get a frontside grind in the deep end, like that's an accomplishment. Like it's got to be
And it
legit.
was.
And
I've seen
skated
video
it.
and it looks gnarly.
Oh, I
tight.
skated it, and it was like that. Like I didn't frontside grind it. I was like frontside grind, maybe the tiles, and that was it.
Yeah.
Frontside turn, but
See, Blake, like when Blake was. Sorry, yeah, we love you, Blake.
When's he coming on the pod?
Yeah, when he was
actually did ask him years ago.
Yeah, you got to get him on. He's awesome. His whole family's awesome. But as a rollerblader, he was the only guy, like during those 92 Easter show demos, he did backflips.
Did he?
No one on rollerblades was doing backflips back then.
Have you seen him snowboard?
Oh yeah, we used to go snowboarding together.
Yeah, he's a freak. He's just
he was
freakish
rad.
talent. Same with surfing.
Yeah, those guys just put in maximum effort.
Yeah.
That's what I love about them.
Plus free burritos anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Blake.
I've got to tell you the story of how when I met those guys.
Let's go, dude. He hates the rollerblade stuff being brought up. He does.
Yeah, I know.
So-
We've talked about it. But that's it.
too-
Like I
too
said,
bad now.
after a couple of years of doing demos with me, I was always on their case. And eventually, I was saying, hey, I got Jake Brown on the team to do demos with us. And so, when you got two, hardcore vert skaters skating with you, I just give them shit all the time. And then when they moved out of home for the first time and moved to Glebe, a little house in Glebe, just the three of them, that's when they all picked up skateboarding, and we all used to go street skating together around Glebe. But yeah, so I get called into skateboard world. This is 1992. We've done the big day out, and the skateboard world ramp is set up in a car park in the back of Burwood. I get called into the skate shop to meet these guys I'm going to be doing the demos with at the Easter show. I was like, yeah, cool. I'll come along and sort it all out. Excuse me. And I get there and I walk up the stairs into the shop, and there's these three teenagers with, John Pollard with bleached blonde hair and just looking young and trendy for the time, and starting to talk to Peter Lynch, the owner of Skateboard World, about what we're going to be doing and all that kind of stuff. And, can we choreograph routines? And the Blake, Cal and John are all, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. I was like, oh, yeah, well, if you, I could drop in and do air straight over the top of you guys. And John Pollard looks at me with a look of disbelief on his face and sort of, I'd like to see that, really sarcastically, as if he just didn't believe it, that a skateboarder could drop in and just go 6 foot first wall straight away.
Hasn't seen Mick Mulhall though, has he?
No, obviously not. Especially when I've just come back from 8 months overseas, skating with like the best people in the world. That's pretty. That was inspiring on its own. So yeah, we go. Excuse me again. We go to the vert ramp and warm up. Do a few lip tricks to warm up and whatever. And I don't hold back when I skate. Jake Brown and I sort of we live by the creed of full power all the way.
Give it.
Like I've got 2 gears, R and P, race and park, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm in race mode straight away, and
Not radical and park. No, sorry, keep going.
that's a good one though. I like that. So yeah, I like the skateboard wall ramp. It's only 9.5 feet. I can't remember how big it was, but it's pretty tiny. But I mean, dropping in, like for me, I was as I said, 22 at the time. I'm in my prime fitness as a young skateboarder. Just drop in and 5, 6, a 5-6 foot air backside air first wall is sort of since 1988 has been standard practice.
Yeah.
For any Australian hardcore vert skater.
Yeah.
You drop in and pump your guts out from the vert. That's I still tell kids to this very day. Your drop in is what sets you up for the entire run of a bowl or a vert run.
Okay.
That's a trick in itself.
Yeah. You got to pump your absolute guts out from the drop in. If you're trying, once you're in the air, it's easy to generate speed, but once you start losing speed or trying to generate without airs, it's difficult. So you've got to be, when you're full energy, go hard, and that's what I did. Like first drop in was probably a 6 foot air, and those 3 guys just jaws dropped to the ground and started laughing, and that's it. We were friends from that day onward.
Epic.
Change.
You survived the depression of the 90s, early 90s.
Yeah, I did heaps of demos.
And,
heaps.
If we fast forward a little bit, skateboarding's officially an Olympic sport, okay? And I live in Newcastle now, and I spend a bit of time at the Bar Beach Bowl there and noticing that there is some very obvious skate coaching happening. Thanks, Mick. And let's talk about you integrating skate coaching. So you were probably the first person to ever really do it, right?
In Australia, one of the first. I mean, there was probably guys in the 70s coaching, maybe. I'm not sure, but professionally paid coaching work
and accredited.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. Accreditation didn't come until Australian government recognition, which came just after Sydney Olympics. But I think 86. During my time doing demos for Skateboard World on that portable ramp was the first time I got paid coaching work.
Did you foresee skateboarding being in the Olympics? Were you thinking about it then? Like we used to talk about it and imagine skateboarding was in the Olympics, but I don't think I ever believed it would happen.
Yeah.
Were you kind of like, yeah, this is going to happen?
Not. I just wanted to see it on TV. I didn't care what venue it was. Whether it was Olympics or X Games or whatever. As long as I saw skateboarding instead of football and cricket and tennis on television, I would have been happy. That was always my goal. Make skateboarding as viewable. Man, I watch Street League. Not religiously, but every few months I'll watch 2 or 3 episodes of Street League.
It was pretty exciting, that last one. Did you see the last one?
Chicago?
Yeah.
It was
We're all
sick.
back, and I'm back in Descenzo.
It was sick.
What happened?
Oh, man. Descenzo, he's never won one in his life. He's getting old, and he was ripping.
What is he, 36 now?
At least.
Yeah.
At least. And
He was
he was in the lead and
he was
one guy to
killing
go,
it.
like he had to do a certain trick for a certain amount of points or whatever. It was just so exciting.
Did he win? I don't know.
Old mate landed his trick. It was like a cab back tail or something. Just did it perfectly. And it's just like, oh no, poor bastard.
Yeah. I was so disappointed
that's
for him.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
that's a sporting moment of skateboarding, isn't it?
But yeah, I just wanted to see skateboarding, like Friday night skate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to watch football.
Same.
I got bullied by footballers. My teachers were professional footballers at high school who beat the shit out of me. So, yeah.
That's revenge.
Yeah, I got, well, not beat the shit out of me, but I used to get, like, my first year at high school, which was still only 5th class. As I said, I was insomniac, so I was always probably late to school or, being a 5 Lock kid from 5 Lock Skate, I had a bit of a smart ass. So I used to get the cane every Friday from a professional football player who was actually player of the year in 1980, that year that he was my school teacher.
For Balmain?
No, Bulldogs.
Okay. Bulldogs, okay.
Now you can look that up. But
Who was it?
Steve Mortimer.
Steve Gearin.
Oh,
right.
I almost got it.
Yeah, close. But, he like, the thing that turned me off football completely, of course, if I was a bad kid, of course I deserve punishment. But one day we went to play football for PE or whatever, and I'd never played. I didn't know the rules. I was already a skateboarder, and when you get tackled playing touch, I passed the ball when I should have rolled it back, and I rolled it back when I should have passed after being tackled.
Right.
And he ridiculed me, made fun of me, and had the whole class in laughter along with himself. And I just turned around and went, fuck you all, I'm never playing football ever again. I never did.
Right.
And I went back to skateboarding.
See, back then that was pretty like almost anti-establishment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. 1980. As this 10-year-old kid skateboarding.
So you reflect upon your high school days with ill feelings overall?
Oh, yeah, I got bullied.
Outcast?
My best mate, one of my best mates, our group, were all the outcasts. Paulie from Fat Pizza, Paul Fennick. He was my best mate.
Fellow Maltese friend?
Yeah, he was my best mate in high school.
Wow.
Anthony Coyne, a fella. There was 3 Caucasians in my form, and I was one of them. And the 3 of us. Anthony Coyne was another one, Irish descent dude like me. We had Spanish guy who could barely speak Spanish. Italians, Maltese, Paul. There was like 6 or 7 of us, just the misfits, and we looked after each other, but also got bullied, and teachers bullied me. I got regularly. It was a Catholic all boys college, so 70s, 80s. Catholic boys, mate,
That's it.
You're asking for
I hate
trouble.
to say it, but that system in that time
yeah.
caused so much trauma to so many people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You hear it time and time again.
Yeah. But actually, I did, funnily enough, with footballers, in year 7, I had Dennis Bendel, who was a Balmain player, who had suffered a spinal injury diving into a shallow river. He was my year 7 roll call teacher and also my guidance counsellor. And he lived in a block of units overlooking North Ryde Skate Park. So I would be in trouble for being late, and form master would be wanting to cane me and put me in detention. And one week I come back to school and Dennis Bendel pulls me up and says, "Hey, do you ride your skateboard at North Ryde Skate Park?" I was like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And he's like, I was watching you with binoculars on the weekend. You're pretty damn good. I was like, "Oh, thanks." And he was my only support from any teacher entire time in high school. And I left 3 weeks after into year 11.
He was what, your guidance counsellor?
Yeah, whenever I got into trouble, they would send me off to
Is that the one
him.
that tells you what career path you should take? Or
Well, not just career path, but, you know...
It's a welfare role.
Yeah, it's a welfare role. He, you know...
Because I was going to ask, did he say, you should have a job skateboarding? You're that good.
Yeah,
No?
well, that was it. He, you know, when I got my first sponsorship at 13, you know, I told him, and I was like, man, it's like, oh, you know, I was earning money in high school, and looking at my sort of peers who were bullying me and going, well, fuck you guys, you know, I've already got money in my pocket from riding my skateboard, so as soon as I can, I'm out of here.
Who was paying you, Mick? Was this Aussie?
No, I did a couple of demos here and there. I can't remember. I can't exactly remember who. Like 86.
So most of your money, income from skateboarding is from demos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demos and comps. Mostly demos, but yeah, comps. I've never... late 80, 88, I was on a contract with Cockroach, and they were paying, you know, as you guys would have, photo incentive magazines, and I was getting a monthly wage for a period.
Are you back on now? I can see.
Yeah. But with school, not much support. Dennis Bendel was the best one. Got heaps of shit from everyone. And it was like actually back to that Rydalmere vert ramp. I spent probably 75% of year 8 jigging school to go skate Rydalmere vert ramp. And my form master and all my teachers thought they knew I was a child of divorce and thought I was having trouble at home, and they ended up putting me in all the, you know, dare I say, dummy maths and English classes when I knew I was highly, you know.
You weren't dumb.
No.
You just weren't engaged.
No. Nothing interesting about, you know. I'm not great at maths, but I'm pretty articulate. I know, you know, Mum placed a lot of importance on good spelling and enunciation and language. So I just didn't care for it. You know, I wanted to be at the vert ramp. Like I said, when I first saw Hully's backyard vert ramp, I wanted to be there every day. And I jigged school at least 3 days a week, sometimes 4, to go skate his ramp.
How did you feel when you watched Animal Chin and you seen the vert ramp with the spine being skated?
I still haven't skated. Now that there's one at Woodward West,
they've copied
I still want to, like, that's my dream is to go skate that ramp.
But when you seen that video, was it just captivating?
Oh, yeah. Like, even, you know, when the first one, Bones Brigade Video Show, came out in 85, one turned up at Hully's place, and I jigged school one day, and it was raining, and I went to Hully's, and he said, hey, man, I got the video. Let's watch it. And so me and Hully sat in his room watching the video, Punch and Hot Ones.
How good were those days?
Yeah. Sorry, folks. I don't want to
the new video and
cast, but that was things that, you know, we all have history. Skateboarders have history. You know, I don't want it to be a negative slight on my career, but that's what we did. You know, you can't skate. You got nothing to do. You watch a skate vid. You do stupid stuff. Yeah, as a teenager.
I want to talk about the Fairfield era. So that for me, like you know this, that was the first time I'd ever seen you. I was like 11 or 12, and my friends and I would catch the 5:18 train from Nowra and travel it was a 3-hour commute, you know, and you know.
So did you change at Central? And
change at Central, then by the time you're like...
It's funny, you know there probably were times when
then.
we were on the same train, because I would get the bus to Burwood and then the train from Burwood to Fairfield.
You get the Liverpool via Granville train.
Yeah, I think we had to change strikes. But, I mean, it was magical times, just the crew and the fun and the laughs, and we had no money, and... You know, we often didn't buy tickets, or if we did, like, tickets were like $2 and stuff like that. And then it was the skate from the train station to the actual vert ramp and mini ramp. Yeah. Mini ramps, which was
started as just a vert ramp, and then when Spring built the mini ramp, oh, man.
I mean, that was mind-blowing, that mini ramp. Like, spines and extensions. It was channels. It was like, what? It was like heaven.
There's been... I haven't... Apart from Kevin Harris's skate park in Canada... Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen anything which is an equivalent.
Yeah. It sounds like this thing you were describing in Germany before.
Yeah. similar. Well, that's it. Mönchengladbach was just a Y shaped with one spine off it, whereas Fairfield was spine channel, rollover spine channel, platform spine channel. Rollover.
U-pipe.
Spine into a U-pipe with a hip
at the end.
with another mini with an extension on the corner.
Yes, Billy.
And a flat wall, and then
Memory
the extension in the other corner, and the parking block. It had everything you
Wasn't
could
there a tiny
want.
little ramp on the platform too? At one end, like the chin,
Yes,
like a little 2-footer or something.
On top of the rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had everything, and it was amazing, and all of us learned so much. Well, that's it.
Would you say it was a big time of progression because of
Yes,
that? Because
facilities dictate progression.
because then you had the vert ramp right next to it, so it's like you suss it out on the mini ramp and then you take it to vert. Is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah,
because
that's what I've always done.
I remember, and I wouldn't skate the vert ramp. It just looked so big to me, and I'd sit down and just watch you and Finn. And Vichan always stood out to me.
Yeah,
because he just had the most wild style, and his trucks
and the brothers
were so
Greg
loose.
and Paul too.
Yeah, and I remember seeing a demo there with Ben and Tuss Pappas once, and it was just because I was on the ground too, and you guys were on the platform, and you're flying in the air. I literally and metaphorically put you on a pedestal. I was like, these guys are gods to me. Like back then, like we're talking 89, maybe 88, 89. It was insane. So,
how big was that ramp? That was 11 and change, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10, same as Holly's again. Well, I think it was a bit bigger.
It was bigger.
It was maybe 10.5 foot radius with a foot of vert. I can't remember. Luxford would know.
Yep.
It could have been 11 and 1. It could have been 10.5 and 1.5. But it was big, steel, fast, slippery, tiny coping that stuck out way too much. But it was there.
Didn't it have
it was something
ribs?
different.
Wasn't it like bumpy as well?
Oh, the flat bottom because
in the heat, it kind
metal-
of rippled a little bit. Yeah, whenever there was heat expansion.
That's my memory.
Still works. See, isn't it amazing what's in the memory?
But that was a great thing, Once the mini ramp was built, like you could just progress. It was as a vert skater, it made progressing vert tricks, lip tricks easier.
You'd work up the extension. You'd work up the size of the ramp to the extension.
6
pop
foot,
it
8
across.
foot.
Yeah. That's like throughout the whole 90s. I had a spine ramp over at Lakai swimming pool to skate, a public one, which was a 6 foot on one side and then 8 foot on the other side of the spine. So
I skated that one time, yeah.
Yeah,
It's near Balmain's Lease Club, wasn't it?
Oh, not far.
Not far, yeah.
Actually, it was right by the Balmain, Leagues Club, the pro team's practice field, right next to Leichhardt Oval. But I would go there 2 or 3 times a week, just on my own, and just learn mini ramp, lip tricks. Then I'd go to, what's it called? Redfern.
Oh, yeah, Waterloo.
Yeah, Waterloo.
Yeah.
When that was just the steel vert ramp in the basketball court.
Yep.
And it was 9, like a 10-foot radius cut off at 9, kind of like a Lambie is, but a lot wider and steel surface. So learn something like art, then learn it on Waterloo, then go to Mona and learn it there.
Wow.
Things like ollie blunts. I think I learned ollie blunts on Fairfield vert ramp.
Took him to vert.
And then took them to Mona and learned them on that.
Didn't you do it on the mega quarter pipe?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Where?
That is incredible.
Where at?
Woodward West, back in 2012.
It's like a 22 foot.
27.
Oh my!
It's an ollie blunt.
4 foot of vert or something.
Yeah, it's
You're
pretty
ludicrous, Mick. What?
It was the
Don't say it was easy.
Wait. Not just easy. The easiest ollie blunt I've done in my life.
Because you didn't have to do much because it would just throw you back in. Heaps
Probably
of training.
safe as well because you got so much.
Yeah, it was easier than doing an ollie blunt on a parking block.
Right.
When you're first learning ollie blunts and you just find an angled parking block and you set your board up on it and learn how
That's
to
probably the
pop
hardest
it out.
place to do a bloody
Yeah.
old one, right?
It like it shocked me. It took me. I'd have to go through the video footage. It took me maybe 3 or 4 tries
Just to
just
build
to
up
work
the
out the
courage.
speed.
Okay.
Because every time I go to the States, I stay for full tourist visa, 3 months, and straight after Protect Pool Party that year, I injured my knee, tore my medial ligament, had 6 weeks off. And I actually went to Woodward to film Mega Ramp with Jake Brown. It was the first time he started trying 720 ollies. He's like, hey man, I want to do another screen zine, which I never ended up doing. I want to come and film you on Mega. So met up with Jake in Hollywood. We drove to Woodward. I hadn't skated for 6 weeks. Took my stuff anyway. I called up Jeff Hedges.
The Fedge.
Yeah, Fedge, yeah. I gave him petrol money to come down and skate. Like I said, mate, I've just been filming Jake for almost 5 days or something. Jake's gone back to LA. I'm like, I want to skate. Like I'm here. There's a vert ramp. There's a foam pit. I want to try 540s. I was like, come down. He's like, oh, I got no money. I was like, I'll give you money for petrol. Come down and let's skate the vert ramp. So Fedge comes down and we try and 540s in the foam pit. He's like, I want to skate the Mega. And we go to check that out, but it's all chained up. And he's like, man, I got to go home. So he goes back to San Francisco and I'm there hanging out with my friends from the combi, Alicia Lee and Lizzie Bigardo and Nora Vasconcelos. We all skating the vert ramp. And the girls...
You're just one of the girls this day, aren't you?
Yeah, I was just hanging out with one of the girls, all the girls.
I need a bathroom break. I'm so sorry. Yes. So I just had a little bathroom break, and I forget where we were, Mick, but I'm sitting here. I'm actually a bit lost with you because there's literally so many questions I have for you because you have so much history and knowledge, but I'm kind of just really just seeing what comes out, and it's been great. And big thanks to Billy and Daz for
I'm so stoked that those guys. I love having them.
Thanks for having us here, man.
These guys, man.
Man, we're all Manly locals.
I know.
Pearl Park locals.
That's why it just felt right to have these guys on. And then Darren said, "Oh, can Billy hang out tomorrow?" And straight away I thought, no, I've got to give him a microphone. I'm so glad I did. So thanks, Billy.
Yeah, he hasn't said much, but he never has. That's always been Billy's man.
When he does speak, you listen.
Yeah. I'm just glad that we've had time to chat outside today as well.
Thanks, man.
Because I love, I haven't seen you obviously now we know since Blake's wedding.
I seen you at Blake's wedding. I was a
only
even
briefly.
then I was a different person.
Yeah, we're all in our own little worlds. And Billy I haven't seen in 5 or 6 years?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We need to do it more often, catching up.
Dags
talking.
and I are always. Yeah. I'm always watching Dags clips and going, oh man, we back and forth to each other over the last decade. It's like, oh, we need to go skate Mona together, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm injured again, man. I can't skate.
Yeah, Darren's ageless. He's ageless.
Yeah, Bass is killing it all the time, and I'm like, oh fuck, I want to go skate.
Very lucky. Yeah. I'm thankful don't have the injuries that you've been dealing with, man. That's
well, you've been
thankful.
stick to the streets.
But he's the tortoise. He's the tortoise. He just plods along. Plodding along. Yep. That's what he reckons.
Yeah.
What clips did you get this morning? What tricks did you get? At Glebe, skate park.
Got a line.
Did we get a line? Oh man, my memory. I did the kickflip manual, the drop down. 50,
on the long mani pad.
But you drop down to grind on the other one.
On the curve.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll show you.
So kickflip manual to 50 and then drop off to 50.
Yeah.
Darren.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh man, it should have been 5-0 shove out.
Front board down there along you.
Just cruise, man. And I did want to do that frontside grind on the wall ride thing. But
you got it though.
I got it.
It was more of a scratch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little scratchy. But
not bad for it.
See, this is what I mean. People like Darren inspire me. All types of skateboarding inspire me. And I want to do that with them. Like we were just saying, I always want to go skate with Dags because we're good friends and we always have fun skating together.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
And neither of us ever feel... That's the thing with skateboarders. When you become such close friends regardless of the style of skateboarding you do, when you hang out together and well, especially skate together, you just don't care what level you're at.
Yeah.
Like, Dags and I will
matter,
skate vert together, and, I know we're on different levels there, and neither of us give a shit.
Very different levels.
And I haven't had many opportunities to go street skating with Darren. We have done some coaching work together, street skating and sort of mini street ramp stuff. And, I'm not great, but, man, we just have fun together.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said it perfectly, like we're our own worst critics.
Oh, yeah.
And, Darren's not sitting there judging your ability. He's just focused on what he wants to do and what tricks he's doing at the moment. And stoked for you if you land what you're working on. And that's something I have to always tell myself, is to not compare myself to other people at the skate park.
Yeah.
Especially when you're late.
You only need to compare yourself to
mid-40s.
yourself.
Yeah. So good.
Compete against yourself and no one else.
Anyway, listen, I've got a listener question that's just come in, all right, through the
This should be interesting.
through Telegram. A good friend of mine, Jeremy Rowling, who I grew up with, passionate.
Why do I know
dedicated
that name?
Because he's been skating forever, and he also takes photos. He took a lot of photos
Yeah.
of Bolarama. Gembot he used to go by.
There you go. Now I know. Yeah, I know
Takes
exactly who
great
you
photos,
talk about.
but yeah, I mean, it's just a complete dedicated skateboarder.
Yeah.
But similar to me, never really influential in the scene, but just always been there. Loves it.
Yeah. Oh,
But-
that's it. He's like his photos from Bolarama and a few other events have been getting around for the last decade.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's how I know who you meant.
Yeah, and he also had some art in the Love and Guts art show,
yeah.
Bolaramas and
Yeah,
stuff.
the thing that Pat Noho puts together. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a collector of skateboards. Like, he's got some pretty epic, wall hangers signed by epic people. But anyway, I got a question from a friend of his, right? And that friend is John Bogarts.
Yeah, he's an old
So
man.
maybe one of the OG vert skaters as well, would you say?
Yeah, OG Newcastle.
OG
vert skater,
Newcastle.
yeah.
And the question is, all right, so John said, ask Mick about the Ridge Street competition in Merriweather where Lee Ralph skated in it.
Yeah.
And it was the who's who of Australian skateboarding, and the Ridge ramp was about the only one still standing. There was no others in Australia at the time.
Yeah, Hully's...
Is that Steel City? The Steel City comp?
No.
Different one?
A different one, yeah. This is late 85, early 86. Hully's vert ramp, but only actually lasted 6 to 8 months before the neighbours forced him to pull it down. Because it was right, like, a block of units was right next door to Hully's house. The vert ramp, one platform backed up to a house on one side and a block of units on the other side. So eventually, we were skating all hours of the day and eventually got it pulled down. So Merriweather, I believe it was Merriweather in Newcastle, Ridge Street ramp. Those guys had a ramp and we somehow, Hully's crew, all of us, we ended up we went to one event there, one comp, and it was the second, I believe it was the second time we'd been up there. And I, because I'd been able to skate Hullies and I was starting to learn stuff, I could do airs and I think I'd learnt invert varials and I was trying frontside air varials and stuff like that. Just basics, really. I was still only 16 at the time, I think. So we'd have this comp, and I think first time Chris Payne turned up, and he was 1 or 2 years older than me, but already really good. Like, could do fully stalled tuck knee inverts, and I think he was doing gymnast plants and some other stuff. But later in the day, Lee Ralph and Gregor Rankin turned up. And Gregor must have been injured, or I don't know, just didn't give a shit because he's Gregor and he's rad. But Lee skated, and it was the first time any of us had ever seen anyone of Lee's caliber at the time. He was like
On Vision and
not
yet?
even. So this is probably, this would have been late 80s. Oh no, late 85
Late 85.
or early 86. It was before the Martin Place Alan Losey demo. on the skateboard world ramp with Lee Ralph and the hard, Veriflex hardcore skaters, Tony Hallam and Stephen Peter Hill, I think, and Hugh McCaig, I think it was. So this predates that.
Before he went to the States and killed Mountain Manor. And
But, he was doing airs like the best of us was probably only doing 3-foot airs. Lee would have been doing 5-6 foot airs easy and just fully stalled Smith verts and just loud crackling details and shit. And we were just all blown away because none of us had, no American pro had ever been to Australia yet.
Yeah.
And Lee was clearly better than anyone in Australia at the time.
Probably better than most American pros at the time as well.
Yeah. And we were just like, wow, that's what it takes. I think it was Finn who said it. That's pro.
Yeah.
That's
you know it when you see it, don't you?
Yeah. And that changed everything. That's when we all went, well, we got to fucking pick our game up, don't we?
Good, yeah.
But that's what skateboarders always need. That the only way to progress is to be surrounded by skateboarders that are better than you.
Yes,
Whether it's the older crew, whether older crew are going to pass down knowledge or whatever, or any generation. Luckily, in these days, inspiration is only a finger tap away on your phone. You can look at Instagram clips
is it
or
real
YouTube
inspiration or is this?
Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Tangible, tangible, visible, in your face inspiration by somebody who's just tearing the place to shreds, whether it be vert, street, whatever. You can't beat that, and that's where kids like myself just walk away going, well, that changed my whole perspective on what skateboarding is and what I want to do on it.
Yep.
It motivates you. It's an instant motivator.
It fucks you up.
Yeah.
You're just
changes
like,
your
whoa.
life. Yeah, it's life-changing.
That is,
You
I
have-
never thought that was possible.
Yeah.
Now you're just like, yeah, let's just keep going.
Epiphany for all the kids. Like, every kid has that epiphany moment where they just see the most amazing skateboarding they've ever seen and go, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So how old were you at this? You were 15, 16? Was Lee a similar?
15. Lee must have been 17 or 18 at the time. I'm not sure. Maybe older than that. I'd have to ask Lee, but So he was a few years older than me, and by far better than any of us. And just after that, so Ridge Street. I'm not sure how much longer that lasted, but then, so that would have been late 85, mid 86. 86, we had the Wollongong ramp, North Wollongong, the ramp. It was called 12 foot high, 12 foot wide, indoor, 12 foot flat bottom, something like that. And all the Hurstville skaters and myself, and we used to skate that every weekend, sort of mid 86.
Did you skate Manly Skate City as well?
No, Manly Skate City was built, I think late or sometimes 78, and closed down in early, sort of mid 1980.
Okay, it only lasted not even a year.
Yeah, it only lasted a couple of years.
Yeah, right.
At the most.
Okay.
But I always, whenever the 5 Dock locals, Stephen Bennett, Max Danini, were going to drive out to Manly Skate City, I would always hassle them, can I come? And I was only 10 at the time.
Yeah.
Didn't even have my own skateboard.
Yeah, right.
Like, was riding, plastic board or I was borrowing their boards. They didn't, for the first 6 months or so, they didn't even know my name. They used to call me the kid.
Yeah, okay, the kid. I might bring that one back. I like that.
And I'd just go to 5 Dock and I'd have my little yellow banana plastic board, which I learnt basics on in the bottom of the bowl, but I'd be like, hey man, like lunch breaks, I'd offer to go to 5 Dock shops and buy bags of chips, hot chips.
Yeah.
So that when I came back, while they were eating, I'd ride everyone's boards.
Yeah, right. Wow. Whatever it takes.
And they'd be sitting around the capsule end of the bowl and yelling at me, do this and like do it like that, and they'd teach me how to skate.
Yeah.
So-
Is that where you got inspired to learn other,
Yeah,
teach
like
other people to skate?
the first time I saw Five Dock Park as a completed skate park, I was walking past there going to church with my mum, and I saw the skate park and I went, oh, okay. So went to church, came back, grabbed my scooter, like old school 70s scooter.
Yeah.
Not a racer scooter?
No, hell no.
Like that one with the wooden crate on the front.
Yeah, you know, the 3-wheel ones with the rubber wheels that are like 2 plates stuck together. Grabbed that, came up to the skate park, rode around the banks next to the half pipe, saw skateboarders, and had my epiphany. It was like, that's what it's for. Ran back home, ditched the scooter, grabbed the plastic skateboard, went back up there.
No way.
And never stopped ever since.
It's insane.
So that would have been like, that was summer of 79, 80 when the park was finally built.
Favorite vert skater of all time for you, if you had to name one?
Well, for me, being predominantly a vert skater, Tony Hawk's a main one because he's still, he's still progressing. Even after, I watch his podcast pretty regularly, and he's just come back from, broken femur, and he's already talking about new tricks that he wants to try that haven't been done before. Like, man, the guy just doesn't want to stop progressing, and progression for me as a young skater excited me. I wanted to learn all the fresh new tricks, and it wasn't just Tony, but I was inspired by Christian Soy, Tony Magnuson, Chris Miller, all the best vert skaters. I just cherry picked bits from that I wanted. I want to learn the trick in that style and do it like that guy.
So over the years, then, street skaters that have stood out for you, then, favourites?
Jeremy Ray.
Yes, sir.
A guy that
Darren Coney. Sorry.
and Dags.
Yeah,
man,
legit.
And I don't want to embarrass my mate.
Are you just about to embarrass me?
Well, let's just start with Jeremy Ray for a second.
Sorry.
The fact that guy can do any flip trick without moving his front foot,
that's insane.
just incredible.
It's weird. That bow-legged style he had.
Yeah. But still rad.
Not weird. I mean,
that's the first one that comes.
Weird.
That's the first one that comes to mind. But of course, Penny. Well, you can't go past Tom Penny.
Penny just had such an X factor, didn't he?
Oh, man.
When he hit the scene, but he died out quick. He didn't last that long.
That's it. Because he didn't need to be pro.
Yeah, I watched a clip of Andrew Reynolds the other day. Just on flat, I think he did like a frontside 180 over a grate on flat, and then he did a switch backside heel flip over a crate. But everything about it was so refined. Even the way he just does this little bounce to move his foot ready for the flip, and it's like, wow, he's really lasted as a street skater. I don't know, just like a master now.
Yeah,
an absolute master.
Of course, being being an 80s era vert skater from the street front, like Gons.
Yes, sir.
And, being a sort of on the airwalk team as well, although not in the same country, but Jason Lee. But Gons, fun fact for you and the viewers, my Cockroach Pro model from 1990.
Yeah.
And Dags wants my Gons blind board.
Gladly.
Yeah.
From the back truck to the nose is the blind Gons, and the tail is H Street Tony Magnuson.
So wait up. So when Cockroach designed the board, they just took those.
I designed it.
Oh, you designed it.
I've got the 2 boards here.
Can we get them out and can I video this part?
Yeah, in a minute. We'll do it in a minute.
It's a bit hard with the mic though, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll do it after this.
Maybe Dax could grab it.
Yeah, there's the blind Gons right there, the family.
Let's have a look. Let's get it out.
All right. So
wait up. That's an OG Gons blind.
Yeah.
Was that the first ever Gons blind?
Was it? I think so.
It was, man.
Yeah.
I'll say yes.
So
I paused there for a sec, but I think it is.
From about where my fingers are,
Yeah.
to the very nose of my Cockroach Pro model, I traced that shape
Okay.
because this was my favourite mini ramp board at Fairfield.
Right.
I rode this board, well, even though it's in great condition because it had rails on it, this was my favourite mini ramp board for skating Fairfield Mini.
Okay.
Then the tail is my vert board at the time, which is behind all that stack of Uncle Wiggly. There is Haight Street Tony Magnuson deck.
Right.
Not the big old fat Uncle Wiggly board, the Hell Concave. No, it's the one with the cross.
Okay.
And the doughboy. Keep going.
Let's get it out. Let's
Next one. Yeah, that one.
get out.
Holy shit.
So wait up. So this is the actual Pro model. Oh no, that's the Tony Mag.
That's the Tony Mag. So the tail of my Cockroach board is
The square.
that tail from my finger back to here.
Right.
So I just traced the tail
So
of this.
you borrowed those designs
Yeah,
to make
to make that board right there that Dags is
hybrid.
just pulling
Hold
out.
it up, Dags. Wow. I can see it now. Now that you say that, I can see it. Now
Yeah.
show us the other side.
So I stole two American Pro boards, a street skater and a vert skater, to make my Cockroach Pro model, and that's why it has a double wheelbase.
Okay.
Because I rode, don't scratch that red. That's the only one I have left. That's my last Cockroach board. I sold everything else.
Did you?
It's got the short wheel. It's got the Gons wheelbase for skating mini and street, and it's got the Magnuson wheelbase for skating vert.
So is there any reissues of that? Would Cockroach ever do a reissue? I wonder. Maybe we should put it out there now. Cockroach, if you're listening.
Surprisingly enough, the new owner of Cockroach actually asked me. It was, sorry, folks. We talked about this in January last year.
Thanks,
about
Daz.
having a Cockroach Pro model reissued for Christmas just passed.
Okay.
But then, my mum had a couple of falls, went into hospital, and eventually passed away. So it got put on hold for indefinitely until I'm ready for it. I just need to redo the graphics in Illustrator and retrace the shape, and we want to get it made by Watson Wood in the States again,
Epic.
like the original one was. So yes, there is talk of a reissue and possibly an eventual sort of new model and new graphic as well.
But back in the day, though, how were the board sales?
I would not have a clue. I never got any royalties.
Did you get paid?
There was maybe 500 made.
Okay.
Never got paid because I went to the States in June of 91.
There you go.
And while I was over there, when I got to, I think it was when I met up with Finn and those guys, they said,
keep going.
hey, did you know that the Cockroach factory burnt down?
Oh, no shit.
I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, we think, it was probably an insurance job because the new owners were a sketchy pair of characters and who were in the news years later for real estate scams. But yeah, I thought, okay, well, that means all my boards have burnt down and they've done the runner and I'm never going to get paid for, so I only, like, if I was getting $2 a board standard back then, I think only 500 got made, so it's $1,000 I would have been out of pocket. But I never really cared. Like money, that's probably why I'm peasant now, because money has never been my motivating factor in life. Fun on a skateboard has been my that's my currency.
Yeah.
Are you rich,
Dude.
Mick?
Fun and friendship. Yeah,
Fun and friendship.
Yeah, I'm rich.
Rich in your currency is what I'm saying. Not
Yeah, rich in those two currencies. Not so much fun anymore because I'm been injured for so long and can't skate. But
Well,
You'll be back. What are we going to do to get you back?
I knee surgery for the torn meniscus, and I've got a thing called a Dupuytren's contracture in my right hand. It's like a sort of tumour in my finger that makes old people's fingers curl up.
Okay.
And you can get that cut out. So, and I need that hand for inverts, and I want that.
There you go.
So yeah, I plan to be skating again eventually.
Well, you're rich in love, man. We love you.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Shan.
And what you've done for Australian skateboarding and maybe skateboarding globally. You know, you've been around for a long time. A lot of people know you, man.
Yeah, tried. You know, I just love skateboarding, and it's, you know, skateboarding's taken me places I never, like a lot of us that have had opportunities in skateboarding. You never imagine you'd ever travel or meet so many people, have so many opportunities, and skateboarding affords myself and a lot of us.
Well, what would you consider your legacy left in skateboarding?
Probably something that I know Billy would like to talk about, which is how I learned to skate from my peers and my approach to helping new skateboarders progress as well, either learn to skate from scratch or progress with their own skating. And that's on a peer basis. Like, you know, these days kids can just, as we were talking about earlier, you can turn on any mobile phone or YouTube for inspiration, you know, Instagram, whatever. I come from an era, obviously, that predates skateboard videos, so learning from your peers was the only way to skate, the older guys. And that has stuck with me my entire skateboarding career. Yeah. So I think we touched on it. First professional coaching job was 86. And I've been coaching not non-stop, but for the majority of the time ever since. Sally Affleck actually estimated that I had coached roughly 35,000 kids in that period.
Dude, that's a lot of influence.
Shout out Sally Affleck.
Yeah, love Sally. Another Curl Park local. Yeah, sister. So, you know, teaching or having the opportunities to teach all those kids and even help my friends and little kids at Five Dock Skate Park or Curl Park and whatever, you know. I've always said, even if one out of every 1,000 kids that I taught to skate still skates, that's my legacy. I'm like, I'm stoked that
it's pretty significant legacy, bro.
Thanks, mate. And I'm sorry I can't remember your name. If you're listening, you probably know who you are, and I'll have to go through my Instagram DMs to find your name. But recently a guy contacted me and said, hey, man, you taught me to drop in at the Sydney Royal Easter Show in 2002 when I was a little kid, and that afternoon I went back and I taught all my mates how to do it, and I'm a skateboard coach now.
Wow. I've got goosebumps. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Every interaction is so important, I think.
Oh, yeah.
With humans. And I think skateboarding is it's like the catalyst, it's the conduit for making those connections, you know. Like, you've probably taught countless people how to drop in. And but then that's like a metaphor for them, you know, being brave in other aspects of their life.
Yeah.
And you don't know how many people you've done that to and for, whether they skate still or not. Like just in the last few years, I've taught what is she, 6-7-year-old girl to drop in 5 Dock. Even one of the old OG 5 Dock Curl Park, Manly local to this day, Sue, God, I don't know why all of a sudden I've forgotten Sue's second name. She's like 61. And she used to come back in 1980 when she was 19 years old. She used to come and skate 5 Dock Park, and I was like smitten little 10-year-old kid. Like, she Farrah Fawcett to me. And like, we went and skated Sydney Park together a couple of years ago. Skated Curl Park a couple of times, and I find she's like, you know what? I've never actually
dropped in.
Yeah.
And so I taught her to drop in off the hip at curl.
Yeah.
And the delight on her face was awesome.
Such a good feeling.
So, but, it doesn't matter. Like, could be a 6-year-old girl, 61-year-old woman, 10-year-old boy, whatever. Like that, once you overcome that first fear, and it's usually dropping in. That's usually your first biggest fear for most skateboarders. For street skaters, it could be the first time they ollie a 4-stair. Once you overcome that initial boundary of fear, like it just opens up a world of possibilities.
Yeah.
And not just in skateboarding. That's the thing. You go, what else am I scared of? Does my art suck? Am I lame at that? Whether it be academically, athletically, whatever. Like, as long as you find ways to overcome whatever your fear is, you can achieve what you aspire to be as a person.
Yeah.
Like, I learned to surf because I was scared of drowning. Even though my mum told me Irish folk lore that I was born with the sack over my face so I could never drown. Thanks for telling me after I learnt to surf, mate. Learnt to dive off 10-metre towers to overcome my fear of heights. I just did, as a teenager, I did stupid stuff just to overcome fear.
Like you lean into the fear,
Yeah.
not run away from it.
Yep.
Fear is a mind killer.
Yeah, and even now I sometimes, with kids that I coach, like even Dylan Danini when he was still under the age of 10, is like, I'm teaching you this trick or you're trying to learn this trick. Fear is holding you back. This is what you need to do to overcome. This is what I do to overcome my fear.
Yeah.
And I'm being in your position with this exact trick. What are you scared of? Getting hurt. Okay. What happens after you get hurt? You get better and you start scared. Yeah, well, why hold back? If you think you're going to get hurt, it's probably going to happen. Well, it will eventually anyway. But I've been skating, although the last few years have been rough and I've been injured a lot, I've been skating since 1978. I'm still here. I'm not dead. I've absolutely smashed myself skateboarding and pushing myself through fear, like we talked about the 540 story. I still have 540 fear, but I'm not going to my grave without that under my belt. Maybe I probably have.
Really?
I probably have.
Really?
People have said I could probably do a 7, like with what I can do skating. I could probably land a 7 before I land a 5.
You still think it's in you?
Oh yeah, I've still got the hunger of
Well, look at
1987
Hawk.
Curl
Look at
Park.
Tony Hawk. Look at Steve Caballero. Those guys.
Still got the hunger, mate.
Yeah.
Still
What
got
about
the hunger.
fakie to fakie 540? Would you have a better chance of doing that?
I've never.
Because you got that backslap
Yeah.
revert thing going on with your shoulders. as
Yeah,
well.
not anymore.
No.
I feel like
That's
you
the
can
thing,
hang up on, like, the way you fall, you'd be falling straight on your back with those ones.
Yeah, you do, and I've done a lot of.
It's like when people revert.
That's why I don't
people
do.
revert out of back deckers.
Yeah, that's why I don't do those on vert anymore.
Yeah.
Aaron Brown made me wait 45 minutes for him to set up his camera gear at Mona, and I did like 30 backside disaster reverts in a row on the vert ramp, and then when he finally got his camera set up, I hung up, and I never did them.
And your head flung back and hit your head.
Oh yeah, got whipped, big
whipped.
time. And I was like, I've never done them again on vert. I've tried them a couple of times at Bondi in the big
Bondi
bowl.
vert ramp.
In the big bowl.
Okay. Sorry.
But I do want to get them back.
I'm still there. I'm still in the Bondi vert ramp days.
Because, that's it. I used to do, like, after that trip, I learnt decker reverts at Ua Street after watching one of the Santa Cruz Euro pros do them. On the mini ramp there. Learnt backside disaster reverts, came back to Australia, did them on the mini ramp section of the big day out vert ramp, and everyone went, what the fuck is that trick?
Yeah.
Then learnt, started doing them on any vert ramp anytime I wanted, and then started doing deck a revert straight into a switch frontside rock.
Dude. Hey, just on a quick side note, favourite big day out or with the best music and best vibe and
97. It's on video. It's on my YouTube channel.
Was that still at Sydney Cricket Ground or it had moved?
It travelled to
already
every
moved
state.
but it had moved to Homebush?
No. It was still
at Sydney Cricket Ground.
Yeah,
Prodigy. I was there, I remember.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, the vert ramp was up against the wall.
No, it was in the middle of the pitch.
Oh.
The one up against the wall, that was 93 when we had street.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
And actually, that was the year I wasn't hired to do the demo, although I went and skated anyway. I was actually camera operator in the Horden Pavilion.
Were you?
So John Finlay and I, while we were in Europe, Finn came up to me in Germany or somewhere, maybe it was in Le Grand Bonnard, and said, "Hey man, I got this idea. I want to run by you when we get back to Australia. We need to talk." And so get back to here, and he's like, "All right, I filmed all this stuff while I was in Europe. I want to make a skateboard video magazine." I was like, "Really? Okay, let's do it." Because I was a nerd. I've actually still got the VCR that I edited the first screen zine on out in my dining room.
No way.
Wow.
For the nerds out there, it's a Sony SLV 757.
And it's for sale.
Yeah, it probably still works, but it needs a new remote because of that burnt down in a house fire. And plus, I had Amiga computers, which are in the other room as well. I had an Amiga 500, so I was doing computer graphics. And Finn, so we did this first video in my bedroom on Finn's VHS-C camera, my VCR, my computer, did all the graphics and whatever else. Hand edit, video went for probably over an hour. I've got it chopped up in sections on my YouTube channel. I don't know how many 40 copies we sold, whatever. I think Finn sent one to Scotland or something like that. Pardon me.
Is this before 411?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Americans, producers of 411 who claim that you were the first skateboard video magazine. Screenzine Volume 1 predates you by 6 months.
And that was Finn's idea?
John Finlay's idea.
No way.
Yeah. So,
that was what a progressive idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure, 411, had the production and they went on to do, I don't know how many tapes. And Screenzine only...
60 easily.
Yeah, we only did 2 and we started work on the third video, which I've still got the Super VHS master here.
No way.
The first few minutes is the Perth guys, Morgan Campbell. It would have been our third issue would have been the first time anyone outside of Perth would have seen Morgan.
Has anyone seen this footage?
Morgan's probably got it.
Yeah.
He's probably put it online because Morgan's always putting out old clips at the moment.
Yeah.
But that was going to be the first part of Screenzine 3. But Finn was working 3 jobs at the time. Through the first Screenzine, Finn and I were interviewed on a community cable television network called the Wisdom CCTV1, called the Wisdom Chambers Youth Review, which is like a group of kids Friday nights. They'd gather in the basement of the Suicide Flats in Redfern and produce this 2-hour youth program. And they had music program and all sorts of stuff. And one got Craig, I can't remember his second name. This guy Craig had a skate show and he invited me and Finn on to talk about Screenzine. So we did that and I was like, wow, this is really cool. You kids are all a bunch of teenagers getting together Friday nights and producing television programs. And they had studio, not full studio cameras, but sort of the basic studio cameras and, Grass Valley Vision Mixer or maybe it wasn't Grass Valley, another brand. Everything you needed to make live television. That's what they did. Broadcast live to the Suicide Flats in Redfern every Friday night for 2 hours. This is really cool. And so I started going there every Friday. And within 2 months, I'd worked from audio technician, camera operator, vision mixer, director.
Wow.
So in 2 months, within 2 months of being there every Friday night, I was mixing and directing every show, 2-hour show Friday nights I think I did it for about a year and a half, maybe.
Dude.
And through that, I got access to Metro Television in Paddington, which is where we produced Screen Zine Issue 2, which was done on, high-end playback and record VCRs, and it had a Amiga 2000 built into the studio, Grass Valley Vision Mixer, Edit Suite controllers, the whole lot. So full, analog video editing system. And I produced, don't know who that was. Produced that video.
That was
there.
wrong.
Yeah, that's the wrong answer.
Is that the one with the Davo part in it?
Hey? Yes. Yeah.
Screen Scene 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That
I
was
remember
Finn's.
this.
That was, man, I've wanted to reproduce. I've talked to Davo about this. I've wanted to reproduce that Schoolyard with Davo skit for like an anniversary video, and Davo's
He
just
would
totally
hate that.
he's totally unresponsive to the idea. But I think it would be, the whole thing was like a Finn thing. It was hilarious, and I'd love to do it. I've always, for years now, I've wanted to do an anniversary. Like I tried to do a 25th, and I tried to do a 30th anniversary production of the first Screen Zine, but just getting people just weren't motivated, or now they're not even skating at all.
Yeah.
It's
just
and,
not life,
and
yeah.
my own person. Yeah, it's just
Anymore.
life. Eventually, I'll do it.
Everyone's like, oh,
Yeah,
on Instagram.
I think
exactly.
The name's so rad too. It's better than 411. The name
Screen Zine.
Screen Zine.
Well,
Like,
that's
it's just-
Finn's idea. The first one
like-
we called B Zany. That's all Finn. The guy's a Scottish comedian. What was the second one called? I can't even remember if we just called it volume number 2, like 15-digit number, because volume 2 just sounded dumb. Yeah. But, so yes, we did predate 411 by 6 months, and it did introduce me to a short career in community-based television.
cool.
I helped film, edit, and produce some documentaries for child youth services and
Nice, Mick.
stuff like that.
You're a man of the community, Nick.
I think it's just.
I like, and
You
well,
are.
actually, I think as much as I hated school, I like learning stuff at
Yeah.
my own pace,
Yeah.
and that was the parallel between teaching kids to skate and the community-based TV. I was a peer educator there as well. Not only did I work my way through the system because of my own personal interest, but part of doing that, all that whole group, Zara Williams, great friend of mine, the producer, was peer education.
Yeah.
So we would, anyone who had knowledge in a certain aspect of live television production would teach the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
And you'd get new kids, new kids would come along to be interviewed for something, then they'd take interest and they'd turn up every night and every Friday, and it was like, okay, well, I'll teach you how to vision mix, and I'll teach you how to do camera work. I was so heavily into, I love movies. It's all I really watch, that like camera techniques, push-pull techniques, pull focus, this and that, like just teaching all these younger students that. And that also went into, Zara getting me work teaching Sydney Girls High School media class,
Oh wow!
like
dude.
teaching them about live television production.
There you go.
So, skateboarding just led into all these things that I never thought possible.
Yeah.
That
Now you can start a collector's podcast. Skateboarding collectors podcast with Mick Mulhall.
I'm not
I feel it.
I
Have you
don't,
got a favourite piece out of all this stuff? Like
my Lance.
Yeah.
Like we were
The
been
one,
talking
the
about
one you're going to sell me for $5.
$5,000.
No, not even $5,000. More than that, dude.
Yeah. As we were talking about, the Lance has a special place in my heart because I rode it at Hulley's. It was the first one in Australia. One over only 6 in the world, as far as I know. And Lance signed it for me.
Was he stoked when he signed, or was this another thing? He's just, he was amazed.
Lance, I love that guy, man. He's so weird.
He must sign a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. But Lance is we know he's a dork, man. Sometimes you can't tell if he's angry or not,
right?
Or if he's just trying to be fun.
He hides it well.
I'm pretty sure he was stoked because I was at 5 Dock and I'd just done. It's on Peanuts. Peanut did a recent re-edit of my old 5 Dock bowl footage from sort of 95, 96 when I used to skate it with Blair and Brett Margaritas and I think Cuzzer came to Kerry Fisher and Chad and Sean Holland and a few people. We used to skate 5 Dock pretty regularly. But Peanut did a re-edit and like those guys, the Lance and the firm team, Matt Beach and
Ray
Barbie turned up later in the evening. And so I was trying to invert varials in the dark in the big bowl and finally made it. And
dude, I just had it just came back to me. You were going right back to the start, that skate park under the bridge in London. It's called PlayStation.
Oh, that was years later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Close.
So I don't know, it just came to me like a lightning bolt.
Yeah, but that was not long after.
And you know why? Because I lived in London for a while and I was skating there. And one afternoon I was there with one other guy just cruising around. And Lance Mountain turned up with Matt Beach. This is in the firm days. And I was just like, and that was why I just remembered.
Was that like 97, 97, 98?
No, it would have been 2000.
Okay, yeah. See, that's like 9 years past.
Okay.
The Waterloo Ula Street skate park.
Yeah, that's a way different part of town, right?
Sorry, I know that's a random one.
We've been going so long, mate. It's all right. I understand you're starting to fall asleep.
No, I do.
Do you have a favourite year in skateboarding, Mick? Or an era, or like you've been around a long time? Obviously, like 6 decades?
No,
6. That's 60.
40.
He's into the sixth decade.
45 years.
Well, we're talking about the different stances for different boards.
Oh yeah,
through the iterations of skateboarding.
Yeah.
So there's been a couple.
I think, like, to be cliche, I think now, like.
Yeah.
The evolution that skateboarding is, although there's some aspects I don't like, as Billy said, like the current young generation are kind of so.
I didn't say this, by the way. I'm backing out of this.
Yeah, this is my.
Don't get cancelled.
This is my opinion, and you can cancel me all you want, but it needs to be said. I do plan to make my own like content in regards to not just. There's so much content teaching kids how to skate these days, but there's nothing teaching coaches how to coach skateboarding, which is a different level in itself.
Good call.
But the point I want to make is that, kids these days have such quick access to content, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, excuse me, that they just flat out copy each other. And sure, we did that in the day too. But late 70s, 80s skateboarders, the main focus was style. Sure, we didn't have all the flip tricks and, spins and whatever else, but, definitely style was the case. Current generation, they trade perceived stability for speed and power. So they have a very wide stance, preset for any nollie switch. Well, it's usually nollie tricks like nose grinds. So they're ready for it. But they're as I said, they're trading that perceived stability for speed and power. Yeah. Narrow your stance. If you're just doing backside air, like any sort of airs, move your front foot behind your very two front bolts by at least a fingertip, and that's going to bring your stance back to a point where you're producing optimal power in your pump for high airs, long grinds, long lip slides. Yeah, you're doing lip tricks. Like if it's not a nose grind related lip trick, move your front foot behind all four front bolts. It's going to give you shift your center of gravity back towards the tail more. Smith grinds are going to be longer. Ollie blunts are going to be easier. Yeah.
It's going to push on the back.
Flip-
Going to push on the back foot a bit more. Like
Yeah.
it's going to
Just a little bit.
Your
It
weight.
slightly shifts your weight like towards the rear mounting bolts, like just off center of the board. So that because when you, especially Smith grinds, like I see this all the time with frontside Smith grinds with little kids. They've got their foot on or over the front 4 bolts of their board. And that, because their center of gravity is so far forward, when they lock into a Smith grind and you've got to dip your front foot, that's going to push your chest forward back into the bowl, which is instantly going to release you off the coping. So you need to bring your front foot back behind the 4 bolts, stand up more on the platform, get towards the rear bolts a little bit more, bend that back knee more. And man,
Have you got all this written down like in a curriculum?
I started to write a book back in 2004 while I was living in China. I got about halfway through it and then just lost motivation.
Yeah.
But I'll get, that's it. With modern media techniques, I don't know whether to release a book for coaches, or I did write the curriculum for the Australian beginner level skateboard coaching program back in 2002, 2001. So whether to do it, in a book format or video, social media format, thought about starting a Discord group, for skateboard coaches. Thought about, do I need to? I broached the idea a year or two ago about, do we need to create an international guild of skateboard coaches so that we can sort of, give everyone a fair playing field of resources, like coaching resources, wage.
So it's less Wild West.
Yeah, because everyone,
more
people
fair,
undercut each
regulated,
other,
yeah.
or some people have better, of course, people with better media skills or selling themselves are doing a lot better than people with far more ability as a coach. But it is what it is. The Olympics has sort of made it a whole new thing altogether. I'm kind of on the fence about that, whether there's points where I wanted to be involved and then I just don't care, because I'm not in the business of skateboard teaching skateboarding to make Olympians. I want to make pro skateboarders, or just help skateboarders have more fun skating.
Yeah, this is a bit of a...
And not get hurt.
I've got a bit of a loaded question for you, but I do want to start wrapping it up
Yeah.
because I know it's a busy day for you.
Sorry, Billy, if we didn't quite...
No, you covered it, dude, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a bit of a loaded question, but I still want to ask it, and I know we've got to start wrapping it up. I've got somewhere to be and you've got stuff to do. It's a big transitional time in your life here.
Yeah.
But, what would you like to say to new pro skateboarders? What advice would you give them in terms of conducting themselves professionally?
Just be just be cool.
Okay.
Be nice to people. I've seen sort of pretty prominent in their early 20s now pros who in their mid-teens were pretty arrogant and rude to people. Just because you're good, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Just, if a kid comes up and asks you a stupid question, just be nice and smile and tell him what he wants to. You're going to.
That's why they last longer. You look at, again, someone like Steve Caballero, who's had the longest pro career ever, really. Just super nice guy, nice to everyone.
Yeah.
But do you think the arseholes just don't last?
I don't think it's a case of them not lasting. It's a case of them not being liked.
Yeah.
So if people aren't going to watch your content, you're not going to. I don't know whether sponsors are going to take note of that, and that's actually sometimes what it comes down to. If you act like a dick in skateboarding, sponsors are just going to go, nah.
Yeah.
No one likes you. No one wants a tour. I've seen it happen. you know, with the greatest of skaters have been the biggest of dicks on tour, and they've gotten booted off tour or booted off a sponsorship team.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, you know, so what? If you're not nice to people, you know, bugger off. And it's easy. Like that's cliche again. It's easy to smile and say something nice to someone, and you never know whether what you say or do is going to inspire that person for the rest of their life.
Dude, there it is. That's the good way to end right there, Mick. Listen, it's been epic, and I do ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause they want to support or advocate for. What do you got for us today, my friend?
Thanks, Shan. Well, as you know, like you may have seen, 5 Dock is it was a rough neighbourhood in the 70s and 80s. A lot of disadvantaged kids. You know, there's a housing commission, pretty big housing commission area on the other side of 5 Dock. And, you know, I'm a child of divorce, and I struggled when I was a kid with equipment, you know, until I got my first sponsorship. Like, I was always on hand-me-down boards. So, and I've worked with disadvantaged children in skateboarding, coaching at places like the Juvenile Detention Centre in the mid-90s, and doing the television media stuff. I've worked with disadvantaged kids in that, teaching like Aboriginal and disadvantaged youth media production skills. So, Mission Australia.
Yes, sir. Good one.
Please. So,
Excellent.
if you're out there and you want to, you know, help kids out,
Yep.
donate some cash.
Well, I'll put a link to the Mission Australia website in this episode's show notes. So scroll down, click on the link, and see how you can either be involved. It's always good to be involved and volunteer, or if you can't do that, you know, there's always ways to donate as well. So, yeah, thanks, Mick.
Thanks, Shan.
Thanks, Mick.
Thank you, Michael.
It's been a big inspiration.
Mate,
honestly.
I'm so stoked you guys are here. And actually, you know what? Somebody I didn't get to talk about that I really, probably my best friend in skateboarding,
Let's go.
Ty Colling.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Get him on.
I spoke to him the other day.
Awesome.
Yeah, at Bar Beach Bowl. He was there judging.
Yeah, that's when
he's going to be on. He's on. He's in. He's in.
I love that guy. So, Ty, thanks for decades of friendship and support, brother.
Oh, man, it's beautiful. Mr.
Let's all shed a tear.
Mr. Mick Mulhall, everybody. You.
Yeah, Shan. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Billy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You.